All right, we are live. So let me just post this in the Discord really fast. I'm probably gonna need an aspirin after the stream is over because holy shit, like, hot damn, what the fuck? Like these movies. Oh, damn. But anyway, oh wait, let me get my phone. Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Timber15 and welcome to my rant stream for the new SpongeBob movies. Uh, So yeah, we're gonna be covering the Sandy Cheeks movie, the Plankton movie, and the Search for Squarepants movie, all of which I watched recently. I watched the Search for Squarepants movie on in in theaters. I watched the other two movies on Netflix. So so yeah, we have a lot to cover today. And yes, Maple, you did. Well, before talk about that, hi everyone. The chat, Poisonous Maple, Nate, Kind Gamer Patrick. Yep, and everyone else is here. Nice to see you guys here. But yeah, Maple has a shit ton to say about the Sandy Cheeks movie. In fact, I'm looking at his review right here, where he just goes and tears right into the movie, and rightfully so. I'm just going to be using this. He's going to be using this for notes. I'm going to be doing it too. I mean, I already have my own notes, but I'm going to be using his review occasionally to see if there are any other points I missed, because because sometimes he brings up points that I haven't even considered. Let's see. Where is the where is it? Hold on. Oh, here we go. Oh shit. Sorry, hang on. God damn it. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Okay, now I have the chat on my phone. I forgot how YouTube worked for a moment. Yeah, so fun fact, both the Sandy Cheeks movie and the Plankton movie were leaked like several months before they were supposed to be released, which was really funny, but also really sad. I don't really like it when movies get leaked. Like it's frustrating. Um, but that is what happened. And but like the thing is that the Sandy Cheeks movie didn't improve after getting leaked. You would think that after the initial negative reaction to it. I think it had an initial negative reaction. You think that you think that the creators would have fixed the issues with the film, but they didn't. So so yeah, let's just get into it because holy shit. Um I have a lot to say about these films. You guys have a lot to say about these films, so let's get into it. So let's start with Saving. Oh wait, sorry. Let's start with the chronology. So, Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie. That's the full name for the Sandy Cheeks movie. Um, it was released on August 2nd, 2024, and the Plankton movie was released like several months after that, March 7th, 2025. And then Search for SquarePants was released like not too long ago, like at the very end of the year, December 19th, 2025. Yeah, everyone was tearing the shit out of this movie when it got leaked. Yeah, yeah, that's what I heard. The Sandy Cheeks movie was just ripped into, just absolutely torn into. But yeah, that's the film chronology. All these movies were released within a year of each other, which is honestly really weird. I don't think I've ever seen that in like for any SpongeBob movie. So I just found that really weird. When was Sponge on the Run released? Hang on, let me look it up. because now I'm curious about something. 2020. Yeah. So, and I believe SpongeBob Water was released on was it 2016? Let me look. 2015. Right. So, and the original movie was released in 2000. I think it was released in 2000. Was it 2004? 2004. So 2004 for the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, 2015 for Sponge Out of Water, and then 2020 for Sponge on the Run. So all those movies were released like at least 5 years within each other. I mean, I'm sorry, more than 5 years within each other. Well, actually, that's the same thing. Whatever. So, but so like they weren't released within 5 years or less of each other. But these movies here, the Sandy Cheeks movie, the Plankton movie, and the Search for Squarepants movie didn't like they were all released like within a year of each other, or well, a little over a year, but like that's just really weird. Which just goes to show how rushed and unpolished these movies feel because they definitely do have that. I mean, then again, one could always argue that these movies were worked on concurrently, but even if you use that argument, like they just feel very rough and unpolished. Like really just felt like cash grabs, if I'm gonna be honest. So, um, before we start, yeah, the first SpongeBob movie is the best one, like by a wide margin. It's not even close. And then after that, Sponge Out of Water, and then the Plankton movie, and then you have the rest. But before we start, all these movies suck. The Sandy Cheeks movie, the Plankton movie, the Search for Squarepants movie, they all suck. I mean, what did anyone expect otherwise? Like they all suck. None of them are very good. I mean, like but the degree of suck does vary between the movies. And like they don't all equally suck, thankfully, but they all suck. But the Plankton movie sucks the least. Though I don't think that's saying much. Like if your only competition is two other bad movies, of course you're better, of course you're gonna stand out. But like even so, like to me that's not much. It's like if you have three turds and one turd is more polished than the other two, great, but it's still a turd, right? And I know that there are people out there that like the Plankton movie and that feel that it's actually a good film, or at the very least a decent one, because it was a lot better than the Sandy Cheeks movie. Um, I agree that it's better than the Sandy Cheeks movie, but not to the point where I would say it was a good film, because I don't think it was a good film at all. I mean, there were some good moments in it, but I think people are giving it too much credit. Yeah, it was better than the other two movies I mentioned, but again, that's not saying much. Like that's not really something to brag about or to be happy about. That's just me though. And I know some people are gonna be like, T-Man, you're being too hard on the Plankton movie. Yeah, well, sorry, but that's how I am. I do not like this movie. I know people like it. I know it's better than the other two movies. I still don't like it. In fact, out of all these movies here, I think this is the most boring one. I'm not joking. I think the Plankton movie is the most boring movie out of all of them. And I know not everyone's going to agree with me on that. That's fine. That's just how I feel. But we'll get into that later. So, another thing I want to talk about is that all these movies use plot points that have already been done. Like, literally every single movie that I'm going to talk about today uses plot points that have already been done. The Sandy Cheeks movie is supposed to be about Sandy, trying to save Bikini Bottom from being uh from being like enslaved or misused or whatever by some evil marine biologist corporation or whatever. And it's also supposed to be about Sandy, struggling with, her life, being torn between her life on land and in the sea. But the thing is that we already had a plot about her being torn between her life on the land and on the sea. And with the Plankton movie, it was about Plankton's rocky relationship with Karen. But like we already had a plot point about that. So like there was already an episode about that. And regarding the Search for SquarePants movie, it was about SpongeBob, navigating but going on a dangerous journey with his best friend to prove that he can, that he's not just a mere bubble blowing baby boy, that he's actually a man, or in this movie's case, a big guy. But again, we already had a story like that, and in fact, it was the very first movie. So all these movies use plot points that we've already seen. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, and I'll get to that later. Actually, I'll get to that right now. But here's the thing: these movies do these plots worse. They do them worse. Like them reusing certain plot elements isn't necessarily a bad thing, but they do these plot points even worse than the originals did. And that leads me to my first point, my first writing tip. Like I put in a bunch of writing tips throughout this presentation to further support my points about how bad these movies are. So here's my first writing tip. Do not reuse previously created plot lines unless you deliver a fresh take on them. Again, reusing plot lines is not necessarily a bad thing as long as you do something different with them, like provide a fresh take. Because this is something that happens all the time in fiction. Like there are plenty of superhero stories that are like this. Like with Spider-Man, for example, you have a lot of different storylines with him, a lot of different plot lines with similar setups. But the only thing that's different is how the events play out, and you get a fresh new take on Spider-Man every time. So it's not necessarily bad to reuse plot points, but if you're going to do it, make sure that you do it in a way that's good. But here's the thing: these movies don't do that. They actually do it in a way that's worse. So yeah, like don't do that. Like it's and plus, not only do these movies do it worse, but they do it in a way that feels kind of lazy. Like if you're going to reuse a plot point, then do it well, because if you don't do it well, people are going to think that you're lazy because and uncreative because you're just writing off the coattails of previously established stories that did so much better. So um please just be careful about reusing plot points. Yeah, Disney needs to take this writing tip, like regarding the live action remakes, which are generally just not very good. They range from just boring, from serviceable, like if you exclude the good ones, of which there are very few, you have ones that are serviceable or boring or straight up terrible. Like it just ranges from serviceable to terrible. Most of them are just not very good from a quality standpoint. Because it's sad because remakes can actually provide a fresh new take on a story, a fresh new angle or whatever. But again, you have to do it well, because if you don't, people are going to hate you for it. Disney needs to understand this because they keep reusing plot points without doing anything meaningful with them. And it just comes off as laziness and creative bankruptcy. So stop doing it. But it's Disney. They're not going to listen. I mean, we already have the Moana live action remake coming out very soon, even though it hasn't even been 10 years since the original movie's release. So, yeah. Ew. But anyway, moving on to the next point. These movies, also the Plankton movie, the Sandy Cheeks movie, and the Search for SquarePants movie, they reuse jokes that worked so much better in the original series. And I'm like, that's not okay. It's not necessarily a bad idea to reuse jokes, but like do it in a way that doesn't seem forced or cringe. Because like it's clear that they're trying to write off they're trying to use the nostalgia from previous episodes or movies of SpongeBob to like so that these movies would be enhanced. But no, these jokes are not enhancing the movies, they're just making them worse. Like you're just reusing jokes that were done way better in the original stories. And it's really annoying to see, like, no joke. For example, like in the Sandy Cheeks movie, at the end of the film, when Sandy, her family and her friends are trying to build this machine to get them back to Bikini Bottom after, Sandy took out evil marine biologist with the help of her friends or whatever, um, while they're trying to build that machine, and they're trying to like pass wires to each other and all sorts of mechanical parts or whatever. Patrick at one point says, "Is mayonnaise a wire?" And I was like, how pathetic is it that you're just reusing jokes like that, classic jokes that worked so much better in the original stories, and then using them here in a way that's so forced and lame and lazy. And they didn't even focus on Patrick. The camera didn't even focus on Patrick when he said that. It was really something that he just randomly said, but the camera wasn't focused on him. It was just so like it was just so stupid. And there are so many other examples of this, like that guy who always breaks his leg. What was his name? Fred, the guy who goes. They tried to milk that joke for all it was worth, and I'm like, guys, stop. Just stop. It's not working. So, like, it's just so annoying. Like, they're trying to, like, feed off of the nostalgia from the previous stories, and it just comes off as lazy and pathetic and desperate. You guys can't come up with your own jokes? So you try to use jokes from other stories that worked a lot better? In fact, no, I'm sorry, that's wrong. Because they do try to come up with their own jokes, but most of the jokes just suck. So it's like they're in a catch-22. Like they don't know how to reuse older jokes successfully, and they don't know how to rewrite their no, they don't know how to create new jokes that actually work. So you get double the effect of just cringe humor. Like it's like the humor just the issue with the humor just compounds further when you take this into account, and it's just really irritating. But yeah, we're going to talk about the Sandy Cheeks movie first because it's the one that I want to trash the most, and it's the one that came out first. So yeah, um, yeah, the Sandy Cheeks movie. It feels like ChatGPT came up with it, but yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Like all these movies have common problems, but let's talk about the specific problems with each movie, starting with the Sandy Cheeks movie. So you can see that I have a long ass list here. I will try to go through this list as reasonably quickly as I can. Um, there's almost nothing positive I can say about this movie because it is just absolutely atrocious. It feels like something that was written by an AI. Like it felt like Nickelodeon fed some sort of prompt into ChatGPT and then asked them to create a movie about Sandy Cheeks. Oh, hey, Blue Wolf. Hey, Blue Wolf. What's up? Yeah, I'm glad I clarified that all these movies suck too, because really they're all terrible. I would not call any of them good. They're all bad. They're just horrible. I'm sorry, but they suck. And actually, I'm not sorry, but truly, they suck. But the Plankton movie sucks the least. But we'll talk about that after the Sandy Cheeks movie, because the Sandy Cheeks movie is by far the worst one. Yeah, there's a lot. I don't know where to start with the Sandy Cheeks movie, but let's start with the story. Again, it feels like something that was written by AI because it's just absolutely terrible. In fact, it's not just terrible, it's almost non-existent. If you think about it, it's kind of non-existent. Like it's just such a nothing, flat, boring, generic save the world story. Like Maple points out in this review. Like it's just I believe he does. Let me check because I have his review right here. It really does feel like a generic save the world story. So yeah, the biggest the biggest problem with this movie is just the story. I mean, there are a lot of problems, but let's start with the story. So, even though this is Sandy Cheek's movie, it doesn't feel like her movie. It doesn't really feel like it's about her because here's the thing, her character doesn't develop. The movie wants us to think it develops, but it doesn't. Character doesn't develop. She doesn't get fleshed out in any meaningful way, despite having an opportunity for this to happen with her fucking family. And And it's just weird because this is a movie about Sandy Cheeks, a movie that's supposed to be about her character, that shows what she can do, that shows a side to her character that we haven't seen before. But that's just no, we didn't get that. And to further prove my point, it really feels like this is a movie that just had Sandy Cheeks slapped onto it, or not just Sandy Cheeks, but the whole SpongeBob lore in general, because it feels like this movie was made by people who did not care about the SpongeBob lore. This feels like a movie with SpongeBob tacked onto it, having a very surface level understanding of all the characters and the lore of Bikini Bottom. Because we'll get to the characters later, but as Maple points out in this review, they're all annoying, flat, and one dimensional. Every single one. I can't name a single character that actually has depth in this story. Not even Sandy Cheeks herself. So this movie has a story, yeah. Yeah, it has a story. So let's look at this little image here of the Sandy Cheeks movie, right? Let's look at this. Notice how the Sandy Cheeks movie is like small. Like the text is small compared to the other text that says Saving Bikini Bottom. Do you guys find that weird? How like the Sandy Cheeks movie has such small text compared to the other text Saving Bikini Bottom? It feels like Sandy was an afterthought in this film. Like that's the point I'm trying to make here. She was so like flat, underdeveloped, and unimportant in this film, despite being the main character, that even the actual title implies that she's not that important. Like it's like her story's an afterthought. Like like why is the text so small here? You would think the text would all be the same size. Or hell, you would probably just take out Saving Bikini Bottom and just put the Sandy Cheeks movie instead. But no, it feels like the Sandy Cheeks movie is just a small Sandy Cheeks is just a small part of this movie. It's pathetic. I'm sorry, it's so pathetic. And that leads me to my next point. Maple brought this up in the chat here. I actually have two bullet points here that talk about this. So let me start with the first one. Sandy's family. I will admit they're not bad characters. They're not bad characters at all. I don't actually kind of like their characters. It's just that they're so irrelevant. Like they have almost no importance in the story other than just to get Sandy to her destination. That's literally the only thing they're good for. They have no purpose otherwise, no narrative importance otherwise. They are so tacked on. They feel like an afterthought, despite being potentially interesting characters. I like how quirky and silly and capable they are, but they don't like the movie barely does anything with that. Yeah, it's just like you said in the review, Maple. This doesn't feel like a spin-off, but it feels like a SpongeBob movie that happens to co-star Sandy. I honestly don't remember anything about a single thing about Sandy's family. Well, who could blame you? They're so neglected in this film. They are. Because here's the thing, and this goes into my next point. Sandy, okay, so like I said earlier, Sandy once lived with her family on land. Uh, like, but in this movie, she was actually in this movie, she was actually a part of the circus. In her earlier years, before she decided to move to Bikini Bottom and become a scientist there. So the movie was trying to flesh out that plot point that was from a previous SpongeBob episode, which again wasn't a bad idea. I actually do like the idea of Sandy having, two different parts to her life that she feels torn between. And I feel like this movie was trying to flesh out that plot point that a previous SpongeBob episode did, but somehow managed to mangle it entirely. Because her conflict with her family, Sandy's conflict with her family, because her family clearly misses her, and the mother even, well, I'll get to that point in a moment. But like the family clearly misses her, and and it seems like they want her back, but the thing is that so you would think so you're expecting some sort of conflict to be between the family and Sandy because they have different interests, but that doesn't go anywhere. Because it's weird because there's a line from the mother that implies that she's not happy with what Sandy's doing. Like she outright says at one point, Sandy, we support we have no problems with anything you do, as long as you do it here in Texas. And then Sandy acts surprised in response to that. So you would think that would lead to some interesting family drama. Because clearly, at least one person in Sandy's family isn't happy with where she is right now and wants her to come back, or at the very least be in Texas. And Sandy doesn't want to come back. And to add to this, Sandy actually seemed annoyed with her family earlier. Like she actually didn't seem all that happy to be with her family. Like she was happy that they saved her and SpongeBob from rattlesnakes, but she didn't seem too thrilled to be with them again. So you were expecting some sort of family drama to actually, make the story more interesting, to flesh out Sandy's character and her family by extension. That doesn't happen because that plot point about Sandy's mother not approving of what she's doing is dropped and never brought up again. They don't talk about it again. The family like just carries on like nothing ever happened, and so does Sandy. It's just what was the point? Which brings me to my next point here. Oh, sorry, I was talking about this bullet point right here. I forgot to highlight it, but this goes into my next point here. Here's my second writing tip because this is something that I'm so tired of seeing in stories. Unless it leads. Oh wait, no, sorry. This is the next one. I'm going out of order here. Um, Here's my third writing tip. Do not bring up plot points that don't go anywhere. Don't do it. You are wasting everyone's time. Like I'm sure you all have experienced this. I've experienced this. Where there are so many stories that have interesting plot lines that are set up pretty decently at the very least, but then don't go anywhere. It's so annoying. You're just wasting everyone's time. Stop doing it. If you're the kind of person, the kind of writer who does something like this, then either you're forgetful, lazy, or rushed, or whatever, or just some combination of the three. And you're ruining your story. So stop doing it. Like that, like literally, that was the one thing that could have made Sandy's family so interesting and important in the film. But no, nothing happened. Nothing happens with that. I just, I'm sorry, like this movie is so frustrating. So many writing mistakes here. And I think a lot of it is because the writers just did not care about the actual IP of SpongeBob. They just wanted to use it for cash. Unlike compared to the Plankton movie that actually felt more respectful towards the SpongeBob lore, right? Whereas you have this mess that doesn't feel like a SpongeBob movie or a Sandy Cheeks movie or any sort of movie that exists within the SpongeBob universe. It's just so fucking thoughtless and disconnected from the actual universe. I just I'm trying to keep it together. I'm really am, but this movie just sucks. And it's hard that I don't remember most of their names. I mean, it's sad that I don't remember most of Sandy's family's name, except her brother Randy, because he actually does a bit more stuff, important stuff than the others do. Like that's his name is literally the only name I remember. I don't remember anyone else's names. In fact, Sandy actually has two other siblings, like one young, and they're twins, like one younger brother, one younger sister, but their names are not even ever mentioned. They're not ever mentioned. Randy's name is mentioned, but not theirs. And I'm like, why aren't their names mentioned? Like I just it's such a it's like Sandy's family feels like such an afterthought in this film. Like we could have had such an interesting narrative with Sandy coming to terms with, like living two different lives and trying to find some way to reconcile uh both. Which the ending would have been good for. Like the ending seems like in the ending, like Sandy is, happily dancing and performing in the circus with her family from Texas and her friends from Bikini Bottom. See, that ending wasn't earned because the conflict wasn't actually resolved. It basically doesn't happen. But if the conflict had actually happened the way it was supposed to, then that ending would have felt more satisfying to watch. But that didn't happen. It's sad that this movie is so bad that I've spent so much time talking about this one particular point because honestly, it's not a minor issue. This is literally one of the biggest important parts of the film, I would think. But no. Like really, you could take Sandy's family out and almost nothing would change. It could literally just be about Sandy and SpongeBob traveling to the evil marine biologist laboratory and then saving their friends. It's just really sad. Yeah, exactly. Sandy's family doesn't even show up in the climax until everything's resolved. They're a plot device. They're not actual characters in their own right. They're just plot devices. I remember Sandy mentioning Brandy in one episode. Oh yeah, that's fair. Actually, I literally just thought about that. I actually remember that too. So, but like, so I guess the writers were aware of a little bit of the SpongeBob lore, but I mean that's really not much of an accomplishment. This movie literally has effing Johnny Jackass Knoxville, and I couldn't tell you which character he was voicing. The best, yeah, I don't know. Like that's the thing. Like really, the Sandy's family just doesn't stand out in any way. I feel bad for Steven Hillenberg. I do too. Like I imagine him rolling in his grave right now. Like I could literally feel him. Like just I could literally hear thumping underneath my house. Like I could feel the thumping, not just hear it. Like he is turning in his grave. So yeah, I just let me go back to this because we have a lot more to talk about. But you get the idea. Sandy's family doesn't matter. Her conflict with her family doesn't matter. So I don't have a reason to care that she's basically happy with um with everyone in the end because it was not an ending that was rightfully earned. Anyway, Sandy's character is also reduced to a mere scientist. Like that's really all she is. Throughout the film, she makes nonstop references to science. It's just science this, science that, science, 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 as if she doesn't have any other character traits that would make her interesting. Like I don't understand what's with the flanderization. Like why are you reducing Sandy to this one trait? Like it's annoying. Like I'm not saying that, you can't I'm not saying that you can't change a character in a way that makes it more interesting. You can do that, but this is not how you do it. Because Sandy is just this generic, bright-eyed scientist, and she and that just makes her a boring character. She doesn't develop throughout the film. We don't get to see more sides to her personality. You would think that a movie that is about a certain character would flesh that character's, you know, that would flesh that character out more, but we didn't get that. Overly smart and competent, just like ChatGPT likes it, basically. So, yeah, and it's not even just Sandy. Literally everybody else in this movie, as Maple said in this review, is basically just reduced to one trait. Squidward is just cranky and bitter. Mr. Krabs is just cheap and greedy. Patrick is just dumb and loud. SpongeBob is just oh my god, SpongeBob in in this movie is so insufferable and obnoxious. Like he's meant to be the comic relief character because he's the only one that accompanies Sandy throughout the entire adventure. But somehow they don't do his character correctly because he is just so insufferable in this movie, constantly drawing attention to himself by doing stupid or wacky things, often for no good reason. Like in the first SpongeBob SquarePants movie, SpongeBob and Patrick did do silly things, but there were reasons behind those things. Like that was just how they are, and it wasn't literally their only trait. But here, it's like the only way for SpongeBob to be interesting is for him to constantly be doing stupid shit on the screen to the point where it ends up being really distracting for everyone. It's like he can't just stop being stupid or silly for one damn moment. It's so irritating. Like it's like every single character, and and that's not even including the villains, because the villains are just as flat and one dimensional as the characters of Bikini Bottom are. The marine biologist lady, whatever her name was, I literally forgot. I don't care to look it up. She's boring, and she's boring and flat. All she cares about is just making toys out of marine life. That's it. And they try to like make her more interesting by making all quirky and eccentric and shit. It's not working, fam. I don't care that you gave her a robot body. That looks like horrible CGI, by the way. The CGI in this movie is pretty shitty, but we'll get into that later. Um, yeah, like she's just not so much that she's just a weird villain, such a weird a weird villain, and not even weird in a good way, just really weird. Like Jesus Christ, like what were they thinking with her character? She even at one point kisses her pet giant fish, and I'm just like, okay, I just. I mean, I mean, I get it. It's a joke about how evil lady kissing her pet or whatever, but like something that we've seen like plenty of times, but there it just doesn't work. It's just so cringe and try hard and just bizarre. Like Jesus, the villain is just absolutely awful in this movie, and her assistants are just as awful. They're boring and one-dimensional. They're just stupid and mentally vacant. Like they're clearly meant to be the whole idiot assistant trope that a lot of villains and mad scientists have, but they're not engaging. You can make that trope engaging. They're just not very engaging. Like, and it doesn't help that their acting is just really shit. Like they constantly sound like they're phoning in their performances, especially the male character. Like, there's a male assistant and a female assistant. They're both boring as hell. They both sound phoned in. They're just not very good actors. Yeah, like the villain at one point literally gets her head popped off her robot body, and then her pet fish eats it. And then she's like, "Oh, I'm happy now because, I'm living as a fish. Like, I'm living inside a fish. My head's in a fish now. I'm happy." And we see her swimming around in the lab's pool and later in Bikini Bottom, or at least close to it. So it's just very weird. Like it's a very stupid villain. It's like they just wrote a bunch of random shit. Yeah, it feels very random. Like whoever wrote this film, the story for this film, you suck. You do. Hmm. But oh, Nate, you thought other villains like Prince Hans were bad? Oh no, you have not seen this villain. Unless you've seen the movie. But yeah, this villain's terrible. Yeah, this movie is just very what the fuck at times. Yeah, that's true. SpongeBob actually does smell a piece of shit in the movie, like an actual turd on land, and he seems to actually and he smelled it and he actually enjoyed it. And I was like, and literally a fly flies right up his nose as he it flew up his nose as he smelled it. This as he smelled the piece of shit, and I was like, that's disgusting. Like if he's gonna be doing something like that, at least have him act disgusted because it's just ew, gross. It's just nasty. This movie's just very just gross at times. And and that leads me to my next point, the horrendous dialogue. Again, this leads back to my point where I said that this movie feels as if it had been written by AI because the dialogue is often just terrible. Like just terrible, unnatural, clunky, awkward. It's just and the poor acting doesn't help either. From certain characters, the poor acting does not help. Like it's just very bad dialogue all around. And I'm like, did an AI write this script? Because it's just not a very good script. Yeah, it's just very unnatural dialogue. It's very unnatural. It was as if somebody it was as if the person who wrote the script had never written anything before. I just it's just very bad. And that's not even getting to the lame humor. Because this movie feels as if someone had never written any jokes before. It's just very, very amateurish writing all around. Like the humor was lame. There was not a single joke that made me laugh in this movie. Not one. Because you had either, as I said earlier, you had either very bad jokes that the writers came up with themselves, or jokes that were from previous stories in the SpongeBob series that worked way better in those stories than in this movie. So they wrote bad jokes and recycled good jokes in a way that made those jokes bad. So again, you have that that two times effect of just having bad humor all around. Like like I would think you'd have at least one or the other, right? Like you'd have recycled jokes that don't work versus or you'd have what jokes that you wrote yourself that don't work. But no, this movie manages to have both. I don't know. I just yeah, at one point SpongeBob talked about streaming videos on demand. He like when Bikini Bottom was gone, he was like crying about how he was gonna miss everyone in the whole town, how he he was gonna miss how he couldn't how he could no longer watch videos on streaming services. And I was like, did they really make a joke about that? Not even a good one. Tell me you don't know how to write a joke without telling me you don't know how to write a joke. God, this movie's awful. I think I've let's see. Is there anything else on this list? I mean, there are two other things down at the very bottom, but let me see if I. No, I think that's it. So, stop trying to modernize SpongeBob. It never works. Yeah, see, the thing about jokes like this is that they don't really work because at least not like this because here's the thing like though like when you use specific words like that like streaming service or whatever um jokes like that are only going to work in they're only going to work in the era that they were created in. So like when you try to use those so like when you try to use those jokes in contexts that don't fit, then it really shows that you don't know how to write good humor. Like talking having SpongeBob talking about streaming services is just weird because like it's a 90s show for one thing. So it's just weird to have a character like this talking about streaming services all of a sudden. I don't know, it just feels weird. And going back to the main villain for a moment, because Maple says he's still thinking about the main villain. Yeah, they could have just made her a generic business tycoon lady that, you know, just wants to use they just wanted to use SpongeBob and his friends for profit. Like I would have been fine with that because like the idea of a character like that wasn't bad. Like the idea for the villain wasn't exactly bad. Like an evil marine biologist that wants to use marine creatures for her own profit. Okay, you could do something with that. When you think about it, it's basically like the opposite of Steven Hillenberg, right? Because he was a marine biologist. Like he loved sea creatures. So having a villain like this in one of under his IP, okay, that could be interesting. But somehow they managed to screw it up. So yeah. Okay, and that's not even getting to the crappy animation and visuals. So let's talk about the animation. Like I said, this movie feels like it feels like it had been created by AI because the animation is just absolutely atrocious. It's so bare bones and soulless and lazy. It's not very pleasant to look at. It's just not very good to look at. Like it looks so low budget. Like, what was the budget for this movie? I'm wondering exactly. Let me look it up. I want to know exactly what the budget for this movie was because if it had a low budget, then that would explain quite a bit. Budget off 4.4 million. Yeah, that's actually pretty low. So, yeah. Okay, so yeah, that explains quite a bit. Um, it's, oof, just damn. That's just sad. Okay. Yikes. So, um, yeah, that explains the crappy animation and visuals. Like, see, the thing is that I'm okay with the movie not having perfect animation, if the visuals actually look good. Like, a movie can have like rough animation but still look good. Like, it can look pretty pleasant, right? But this movie isn't pleasant. It looks like shit. It looks like something that an amateur at animation would make. It feels like something a college student would make, like or somebody trying to attending art school for like the very first time. It feels something like that. So it's just so ugly to look at. Like it feels like they didn't even try with this movie. Actually, the 4.4 million refers to the box office of the movie because this movie actually got released in theaters in China. Oh yeah, my bad. So the 4.4 million wasn't that figure wasn't for the budget. It was for the box office. But what was the budget then? What was the budget? What was the budget for the movie then? While an official budget for Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie 2024 has been publicly confirmed, some sources suggest it costs around 100 million. The significant box office earnings, over 4 million, were mostly from China, indicating it performed poorly despite its Netflix release. Okay, so we don't have a confirmed estimate, but the AI says it's might be around 100 million. So we don't really know for sure, but I don't know what exactly the movie's budget was, but either way, it looks low budget. It just doesn't look very good. Yeah, Sponge on the Run did have better visuals and better animation, I'm not gonna lie. Granted, it didn't look as good as Sponge Out of Water or the first SpongeBob movie, but at least it was nice to look at. But yeah, like the animation visuals are just utter crap. Not to mention the soundtrack is just very forgettable. I can't name this movie has a few songs in it, but I can't name a single one that stands out because they're all just very forgettable and at times just utterly cringe. So so yeah, I don't have anything else to say about the soundtrack. It's just very forgettable. The character models themselves especially look terrible in live action. They do. They absolutely do. Like they look bad enough under the sea, but they look even worse out of the sea. So, yeah. I'm sorry, but this movie feels like it feels like actually I'm not even gonna say it feels like a direct to video sequel. You know, like those movies that Disney used to make, like movies like Ralph Breaks the Internet or whatever. But here's the thing though, this those movies that Disney used to make, they had more quality. Generally speaking, they had more quality than did Sandy Cheeks movie did. So I wouldn't even put the level of quality that the Sandy Cheeks movie has. I wouldn't put it on the same level as the directed to video sequels that Disney used to make because um those were a lot better. So oops. Even the Patchy the Pirate live action scenes in the show are better directed than this. I agree. I agree. It's not like the show was, new to live action, right? Because even the very first SpongeBob movie had a live action segment. So Sponge Out of Water obviously did as well. I don't remember if Sponge on the Run did, but I don't really care. But the first two SpongeBob movies actually had live action segments, and yet they looked better than whatever whatever the Sandy Cheeks movie had. Because holy shit, live action just looks terrible in the Sandy Cheeks movie. You know, I was gonna say for positives that the voice acting was decent, but I think I'm gonna take that out because now that I think about it, Maple is right. The, the like the voice acting is just really not that good now that I think about it. I mean, I would say it's serviceable at best, but now that I think about it, it's just not very good. Because really, none of the actors sound very good. They just don't. It's like SpongeBob. SpongeBob is one of the biggest examples. Like he just doesn't sound as good as he did in the back in the golden days. So I mean you could say that Tom Kenny is he's just been losing his touch over time. Fair enough, but it's not even just him or Clancy Brown who voiced Mr. Krabs. Really, a lot of the characters just sound phoned in. Like they just sound like they're just doing the bare minimum. So the voice acting is lackluster. It's just not very good. I should let me change this. I want to make this consistent. Lackluster voice acting. Yeah, that's the thing. Like lackluster voice acting combined with the terrible script makes for just one very bad experience. Like the script, the poor script didn't help matters. It just didn't. So like I don't blame the VAs for not doing the best. At least I don't blame them entirely because even if you give a good performance, if the script is shit, that's gonna affect the movie. So yeah. But yeah, everyone in this movie just doesn't sound very good. Not terrible, but not good either. Just lackluster. But even in Sponge on the Run, you can tell the VAs were at least trying. That's true. Like the VAs and the voice acting in Sponge on the Run was actually good. Not the greatest, but still good. Whereas in the Sandy Cheeks movie, no, they were just very basic. And there's another thing that I want to point out. But yeah, the movie's just very terrible overall. I can't even name a single positive for it. Like, I can't name one. I cannot think of any positives. Like, I really can't. Wait, I'm sorry, I just can't. Like, I can't. The most energy that Sandy has the whole movie is in the very first scene where she is like, "Good morning, Bikini Bottom." Yeah, that's true. In the very first scene of the movie where Sandy yells, "Good morning, Bikini Bottom," like she actually has a lot of energy there, but she doesn't match that energy later on. So yeah. So I can't think of any positives with this movie because it's just that bad. And that brings me to my next point because this needs to be emphasized. Unless it leads to a potentially good story, stop creating stories for side characters. Because not every side character needs their own movie or series. And this is one of those examples as to why that is. This is something that Marvel does all the time, and I'm so tired of doing it. Thankfully, they're starting to cut back on that. But this is the reason why Marvel has just, the MCU in general, has just gotten really crappy. and it's been like this for years, where they feel the need to give every single character, or at least many side characters, every single side character, or at the very least, many side characters, their own movie or their own show or whatever, when nobody is asking for any of this. I mean, sure, some people are asking for stuff for certain characters, but Marvel, nobody's asking for you to make all these storylines because not only are you making crappy content, but you're just muddying up the MCU even further. So, and it's not Marvel that does this. DC does this but to a lesser extent, thankfully. DC is not as bad about it as Marvel is, but it's something that a lot of companies do, and I'm really tired of it. Not every side character needs their own movie or story or series or whatever. So, if you think it's actually going to lead to some really good storytelling and some really good profit, don't fucking do it. Don't fucking do it. Stop doing it. Just stop. Because I'm tired of seeing it everywhere. Like, it's okay for side characters not to have content for them. If they don't need the content, don't give it to them. Sandy Cheeks didn't need her own movie, if I'm going to be honest. Nobody was asking for a Sandy Cheeks movie. Just as nobody was asking for a show about Patrick Star. Literally, nobody asked for any of these things. So, stop creating stuff like this because it's just a waste of time and money and energy. Like all these resources that you put into crappy stuff like this, you could be putting into better stories. I should also mention that the director for this movie is Lisa Johnson, which looking up her filmography, I wonder why in the world she was hired for this movie. I don't know either. I mean, you would think that you look at somebody's resume, like their level of experience, the kind of stuff they've worked on, and then you would think, oh, okay, you seem to be a good fit for this movie. So, so, like you say in the chat, Maple, apparently this Lisa Johnson person was inexperienced when it came to animation. So I don't know what made them think that putting somebody like her on this movie was a good idea. Like, I'm not saying that you can't hire people that don't have a lot of experience, but you need to be careful with it. Like, if you're gonna hire some people without a lot of experience, like you need to be able to give them resources to help them, right? Like, give them some sort of training or somebody to supervise them or whatever. But making them like literally the the director for like giving them a big role such as director for the movie for a movie, no. Like, what made you think that was a good idea? Like having them work under a director, okay, but having them work as a director, no, no. Nobody asked for the Plankton movie, the Sandy Cheeks movie, or the Patrick Star show. Yeah, literally, nobody's asking for any of these. Even Steven Hillenburg didn't even want any of these to happen. So, but Nickelodeon thought, oh, well, SpongeBob is basically our cash cow. He's one of the few IPs left that people actually care about. So let's milk him for all he's worth. Like, you guys aren't even milking him at this point. You're not milking him. Like, you're not milking him. You're straight up just squeezing him dry. If there's even anything left, which I doubt. Like, she's directed episodes from shows like American Horror Story and What We Do in the Shadows and also The Last of Us. Oh, and The Sex Lives of College Girls. And they thought that she'd be a good director for this film, like with the kind of story she's worked on. Like, what? Well, that definitely sounds like a great fit for SpongeBob, right? Hmm? God, this movie sucks. Let's move on. So, don't watch it. Just don't watch it. I'll even tell you my rating for it right now. 1 out of 10. And I'm being really generous with that rating. I'm not gonna lie. I'm absolutely being generous with that rating. 1 out of 10. Yeah, nobody asked for sequels like Camp Coral either. Nobody asked for any of these things. So stop making them, Nickelodeon. We don't care. We don't care. Steven Hillenburg didn't care. We don't care. Nobody cares. Or it's better yet, just let SpongeBob die. I think he's had a full life. Let him die. Let the show die. Okay? And come up with something else. Stop milking your IPs for all they're worth. And let them die peacefully. Okay? Okay? Okay. And the only reason I'm not giving it a zero is because I swore to never give anything a zero no matter how bad it is. Right? Like I could give this a 0.5 if I wanted to. But I'm not gonna do that because I don't really like using fractional ratings unless they're above a 1. Like, does that make sense? So I don't even think I've ever given anything a 0.5. Like, if I'm gonna give something a point 0.5, it has to be greater than like it has to be greater than a 1. I don't like giving something a 0.5 rating. That's just me. So I'm gonna give it a 1, and I'm being very nice to this movie. It's a 1. I could give it a 0.5. I could even give it a 0, but I'm not gonna give it either. I'm gonna give it a 1. It's just a very terrible movie. It definitely one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It might even be in my top 10 for worst movies because holy shit, it's just absolutely awful. To the point where I can't even think of any positives for it. I couldn't even watch it in one sitting. I had to watch it in like two or three sittings because I just could not stand the movie for an entire 90 or so minutes. I had to watch it in multiple sittings. I could not just watch it all at once. I just couldn't do it. I'm sorry. I just mm-mm. Oh yeah, Sandy also has a robot horse named Sparky. Yeah, for some reason. Like the horse was such a pointless character. I even forgot he existed. That's how I didn't mention him. I forgot he existed. Forgot he existed. Why does Sandy have a robot why does he have a robot horse? You could have given her an actual seahorse. That would have been interesting. But because she uses a seahorse in like the original Texas episode, the one where she sings about missing Texas. I think she does. Or at least that would have been better for her to use. Or maybe I don't think she uses a seahorse now actually, but a seahorse would have been cooler for her to have, not a robot horse. I legit forgot to sing. Right? I forgot about the damn horse. Because he's very much prominent in the first part of the movie, and then literally the movie just forgets about him. I was actually expecting the horse to join SpongeBob and Sandy on their adventure. I was legit expecting the horse to, but then the horse just gets left behind. And I was like, okay, like you're gonna create a new character for this movie, and then you're not even gonna use him. Like, what the fuck? I'm sorry, this movie's so bad. Like, it doesn't do anything right. Jesus, like this. I actually would have liked for the horse to be part of the team, like throughout the whole adventure, because I'm sure the horse would have been a better character than any of these other characters. Oh my god, damn! This movie is so bad. Jesus Christ, holy shit! We're just ripping into it. It's so cathartic. Seriously, we've spent an hour on this. Normally we'd spend like 30 minutes on these kinds of movies, but we spent an hour talking about this, and it's well close to an hour, and it's so bad. This movie was apparently produced by the same person that did Food Fight. Now it all makes sense. I've never watched Food Fight, but I get the feeling that it's very bad. So I guess it does make sense that, someone who produced that produced this. They really said that Sponge on the Run is better than this movie. Well, yeah, not just Sponge on the Run. Every other SpongeBob movie is better than this movie. The Plankton movie is better. The Search for SquarePants movie is better. Like the Sanchez movie is just so bad. I came into it with very low expectations. I was being very nice to the movie. I watched it and I was like, wow, it's even worse than I thought. Like I try to be nice to these movies. Like regardless of what reputation a movie has, I try to watch it and give it a chance. Like if I hear that it's bad, I'll go in with low expectations. but like I try to be patient with movies. This movie thoroughly tested my patience. It was just very bad. How in the world was this the first SpongeBob thing that Gray did? I don't know how to say her last name. Was a part of. I don't know. I have no idea. Like they could have used her for any other movie, but they used her for this. Jesus Christ. See, I feel like I need an aspirin right now. I feel like I need an aspirin. I think I need an aspirin. That woman has taken literally thousands of VA roles. It's only now where she decides to join SpongeBob. Yeah, you could have joined earlier, fam. Like, why didn't you join any of the other movies? You decided to join this one. It's like, oh, I'll just join the Channing Cheeks movie. Certainly it can't be that bad. Mm, no, it can't. You want to take a break? Um, should I? Hmm. No, I feel like we can keep going. Well, should we? I mean, I'm fine either way. Do you guys want to take a break? Because we can. But if you don't want to, then we can, or if you're fine for now, we can keep going. Because I used the restroom shortly before I started streaming, and I don't feel a need to still have my water here. I don't feel a need to go downstairs and get another drink or whatever. If you want to, okay. Um, no, let's just keep going. I mean, we can stop after the Plankton movie. I just need to run to the bathroom really quick. Oh, okay, okay. In that case, I'll go and get more water just in case I don't have to go downstairs again. So we will take, I guess, a 5 minute break. God damn. We ripped the hell out of that movie. Like this movie, the Sandy Cheeks movie, because holy shit, it's just so bad. It doesn't do a single thing right. Like, I just don't get it. I really don't. I really don't get how it could be so fucking bad. Mm, Oh God. Okay. Just gonna wait for Maple to come back. Oh Jesus. Okay. Let me check that. Check OBS. OBS is looking good. Oh, am I out of frame? Ooh. Ooh, I'm not centered. Oh my God. I didn't even realize. Not centered. I don't like that. I am not centered. Hang on. I didn't realize that. Dang. Let me move this. I think it's. I am not centered. Like, I need to be focused. Damn. Hang on. Sorry. I think it's this way. Oh no, that's even worse. Okay. Well, let me just do it this way. Oh, that's a little better, but hold on. Mm, damn. Come on. Okay. That should. Let me just change it right there. Yeah. Okay. That should do it. That's better. All right. Okay. So let's talk about the next movie. And I know that some people are gonna disagree with some of what I've said because people actually like this movie a lot more than Sandy Cheeks movie. Again, that's fair, but I still don't like this movie. So I feel like this movie is viewed positively because the Plankton movie, I mean, because it because the Sand Cheeks movie came out before it, and so it just looks really good by comparison. But I don't think it's a very good movie. So better than the Sand Cheeks movie, but not by a whole lot. So okay, yeah, this movie sucks less, but I still think it sucks. Um, I'm sorry, but the animation and visuals are just lackluster to me. Not as bad as the ones from the Sand Cheeks movie, though. Like the visuals and animation are definitely better than the Sand Cheeks movie. I will admit that, but they're still not all that great. Like like I was expecting more from this film in terms of visuals. Like not necessarily like I was expecting something that would be at least on Sponge on the Run's quality because that one is actually the visuals are actually good in that film. It just had a shitty script. But here they're just lacking. They're better than the Sand Cheeks movie, but like I just still don't think they're all that good. And there's another thing that I don't like about the film, and actually these next two, well, actually, hang on, let me read what Maple said here. It wasn't my favorite art style, but it did feel much more polished compared to the Sand Cheeks movie. I agree. Yeah, like the art style and animation were definitely more polished in the Plankton movie than the Sandy Cheeks movie. Because in the Sand Cheeks movie, the visuals and animation just look like ass. But here, they actually don't look terrible. They're just not that. They just don't. They're just not very vibrant or good. Not even on Sponge on the Run's quality or Search for SquarePants, because Search for SquarePants actually had good animation and visuals, like on par with Sponge on the Run, in my opinion. But the Plankton movie was just lacking in this regard. Um, Another thing that annoyed me about the film, really like the next 2 points are basically just 1 point, but I want to emphasize these 2 points separately. The whole film, I just have an issue with the storytelling. The whole film just feels pretty disjointed. It feels like it's multiple episodes or multiple plot lines just smashed into one story. It really does feel like that. It just feels disconnected at times. Like where we get scenes about Plankton and his history with Karen, and then we're talking about the current plot of Karen taking over the world and Plankton trying to build something that can defeat her in combat or whatever. Like he tries to create a new Karen, and then we go back and forth between the two, and and it just doesn't make for a very good narrative, in my opinion. Like, I mean, I get it. Like sometimes plot lines have to focus on something else temporarily. But the issue, like regarding like backstories or flashbacks or whatever, but what I hate is that the movie does this constantly throughout. Like it's just something that I found really annoying, and and that leads to my next point because like there's a lot of exposition with this film because like it's constantly talks about Plankton and Karen's history with each other, how they met, how they grew up together, um, the things they did. I mean, it's fine to do that for like one or two or three scenes or whatever, just a few scenes. But when you do it throughout the entire movie, it becomes very tiresome because, like, I just wanted to focus on the plot of Karen taking over the world and the plot of Plankton, you know, the plot of Plankton's history with Karen just getting in the way of that. I was like, can we focus on the actual main plot, please? Because I just didn't like that. It made for a rather boring plot, in my opinion. Hence, why I almost fell asleep halfway through the movie. I'm not gonna lie, I almost fell asleep halfway through the movie because I just found it that boring. Because there was just so much exposition put into it, which is, and it's really ironic because like I had to watch this in two sittings. Like I was like, you know what? Let me just pause this, go to sleep or take a nap or whatever, and then come back and watch more of this because I could not just watch that in one sitting. It was just that boring and disjointed. And it's funny because I think that the Sandy Cheeks movie is actually a bit better in this regard. Like the storyline was actually more cohesive and connected all throughout. Like the Sandy Cheeks movie actually kept my attention better than the Plankton movie did. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I still had to watch it in multiple sittings, but I didn't feel as bored or sleepy watching it, which is really weird because the Sandy Cheeks movie is absolutely terrible, but it actually had a more cohesive storyline, in my opinion. It just had really shitty writing, but the storyline itself felt more connected. It didn't feel like jumping back and forth between plot points like the Plankton movie did. So, so that's just my opinion. Granted, the Sandy Cheeks movie is just absolutely terrible, but it actually kept my attention better. Yeah, that's fine if you don't agree with that. That's fair. I have a feeling you wouldn't because you're actually pretty soft on the Plankton movie. Me, not so much. I'm sorry, but I just found it really boring for us to constantly get into Plankton and Karen's past. I just wanted to focus on the actual main story. But yeah, the plot points actually do have payoff this time. So I will give this movie that. It does have that over the Sandy Cheeks movie. The plot points actually do have payoff this time. I just wish they had been connected together in a more seamless, less frustrating way. But this kind of the whole issue with the overuse of exposition in this movie leads me to my next writing tip, and it's the last one. Avoid overusing exposition in your story because it's a surefire way to bore and even annoy your readers. And I feel like this movie did that. Perhaps some people didn't mind the exposition, the amount of exposition in this movie, but I did. Like, I didn't really need to know that much about Plankton and Karen's history. I felt like it didn't actually serve the plot very much, outside of just giving SpongeBob something to do, because he was basically trying to understand what went wrong with Plankton and Karen's relationship, which wasn't a bad idea. I just don't like that we had to focus so much on their Plankton and Karen's history just to do it. I don't know. I just didn't like that. And the soundtrack just doesn't feel very memorable to me. It doesn't stick out. It's the same issue that the Sandy Cheeks movie has. None of the songs in these movies stand out at all. I can't really name a single one that stands out. But that's all I can say about that. Okay, this I do agree with, or at least they probably could have just told it more through visuals. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's totally fair. I mean, I will admit that this movie is overall better than the Sandy Cheeks movie. I just felt like there are just some parts that could have been done better. But the plot points do have a payoff here in the Plankton movie. So let's give the movie that. It has that over the Sandy Cheeks movie. I just wish that it had been more, the narrative had been a bit tighter. Because I actually do like the idea of SpongeBob helping Plankton, finally realize that he's been mistreating his wife all along, and that the only way to get her back and to get her to stop terrorizing the whole goddamn city or the whole world is to just be a good husband and actually listen to your wife and be there for her, to be more attentive to her needs and whatnot. And in the end, he did it. He did eventually do that, and it also helped that Karen's friends, Sandy, Mrs. Cliff, and Pearl were there to help Plankton get to that point. And that's actually a positive I will point out in the movie later on. But but yeah, I felt like that whole plot could have been done better. It just feels kind of like the plot's meandering at times. So yeah, a tighter narrative would have made for a better movie. But again, it's better than the Sandy Cheeks movie. I will give it that. So, oh yeah, and Ice Spice. Why is she in? Oh wait, hold up. I put this under the wrong movie. Ice Spice isn't in this movie. She's in the Search for SquarePants movie. My bad. I don't know how I messed that up. Sorry. She's not in. She's in the Search for SquarePants movie, not in the Plankton movie. And I'm thank God she's not in the Plankton movie because in the Search for SquarePants movie, she's there, and I'm like, why is she here? Oh, I already know about that episode, Maple, about Karen hanging out with Sandy Pearl and Mrs. Puff. So when I watched the movie, I wasn't surprised by them just hanging out together all of a sudden. I wasn't surprised by that at all. I actually thought it was nice. But Ice Spice's birthday is today. Well, I'm not wishing her happy birthday. Not because I don't like her or anything, but because I just don't care that much about her. She just doesn't interest me. But anyway, but but yeah, I feel like the amount of exposition could have been toned down a bit. Because I don't get me wrong, I actually did like seeing how exactly how this movie was going to handle Plankton, meeting Karen, having a relationship with her, building a relationship with her. I felt like the movie was just a bit heavy-handed about it and could have gone about it in a better way. But I mean, it kind of worked in the end, so there's that. Now let's talk about the positives. And for once, and unlike with the Sandy Cheeks movie, with the Plankton movie, there are actually a lot of positives. So I'm probably gonna go out of. I'll just go out of order here. It going continuing from from what I said last. I'll go right to the last bullet point. It's actually nice to see Sandy hanging out with Karen, Pearl, and Mrs. Puff. Like it's nice to have the gal pals, as the movie calls them. Just hanging out together. You know, and just having fun. Like it's nice to see Sandy hanging out with other female characters rather than just with SpongeBob and Patrick, or occasionally Squidward and Mr. Krabs. So it's nice to see her hanging out with few of the other female characters for a change. And Sandy uh, and Karen and Pearl actually, sorry, Sandy, Pearl, and Mrs. Puff, the gal pals, actually do some useful things in this movie. It was nice seeing them work together, not only to, get Plankton's head out of his ass, but to also, you know, help Plankton get to Karen and to, stop Karen from taking over the world. So. So yeah. And another thing, Karen is actually a pretty good antagonist, I'm not gonna lie. Like she has like I like her. I like her in this film. Like she's actually really cool in this film. For a number of reasons, not just because she's an antagonist, but because she's just an all around good character. Um, like her motivations for becoming evil are totally understandable. I don't blame her for the way she acted, if I'm gonna be honest. I mean, she still acted horrible, but like you can understand why she acted that way. Um, she was just yeah, she was just a treat to watch. Like I liked how she, managed to make the chum bucket actually successful temporarily at the beginning of the film before Plankton ruined it all because he wanted to be the one to make that happen. And he was so fixated on stealing the secret formula from Mr. Krabs that he just didn't see value in what Karen was doing. And he ruined everything and Karen got pissed with him. So that was nice to see. Karen being a cool business tycoon and then just losing her shit with her husband because that was just the last straw. So, and of course, because like plenty of women out there have partners who are just not very good for them. Plenty of them do, but plenty of them don't. So it's nice to see Karen finally put her foot down and be done with Plankton because honestly, Plankton does take her for granted and doesn't treat her very well. So something that we've seen time after time after time. So it sucks, but it is what it is. So Karen leaves and then becomes this cool villain. I actually like the fact that she actually has that she designed herself to have like three different like facets of her personality. The violent one, calculating one, and I forgot what the other one was. But like she had three different parts of her personality. And the fourth if you count New Karen, because she eventually takes New Karen in as part of herself. So like yeah, it was just an interesting take on her character. So yeah, I actually liked her. Like literally Karen could take over the world if she wanted to. So, she would just be totally unstoppable by herself. And even her girlfriends, Sandy, Pearl, and Mrs. Puff knew that. They're like, "Oh, thank God she's not being evil on her own because ooh, if she were being evil on her own, we'd all be doomed." And that was exactly what happened. But thankfully, her evil plan got foiled. But yeah, like she was just an interesting character all the way through. I actually liked her quite a bit in this film. And yeah, SpongeBob is not nearly as irritating this time around as he is in the Sandy Cheeks movie. He's he was actually he was actually pretty charming in this movie, not gonna lie. Like not perfect, mind you, but he had a better character portrayal here. Like he wasn't insufferable or obnoxious or whatever. He wasn't constantly demanding tension on him with his silly antics like he did in the Sandy Cheeks movie to the point where it made him seem like an attention whore. No, he was actually kind of pleasant this time around, and he even served a purpose. Like he was trying to help Plankton, understand what went wrong with his relationship with Karen, as I said earlier. So, so yeah, SpongeBob actually serves a purpose this time around because that's something I also forgot to mention. About the Sandy Cheeks movie, SpongeBob doesn't actually serve a purpose there. He's basically just this basic ass comic relief character. So yeah, like he was just not only was he insufferable in that movie, but he was also just pretty irrelevant. Like the only reason he even mattered all that much was to um be like basically the the marine toy that the villain wanted the most. Because he gets cloned to hell, like cloned a lot in at one point, like towards the end of the film. So yeah, SpongeBob was actually useful this time around in the Plankton movie compared to the hot mess that was the Sandy Cheeks movie. Let me go back to the Sandy Cheeks movie for a moment because there was one thing I forgot to mention. SpongeBob is absolutely insufferable and irrelevant in this movie. Oh yeah, SpongeBob's other purpose in the movie was to master the Sandy Cheeks family whistle thing to call the family at the end of the movie to help take down the antagonist. That was also his only other purpose, which is really stupid. But another thing I forgot to mention is that this kind of ties into the second point about the lame humor regarding the Sandy Cheeks movie, but like for whatever reason, there constantly has to be something a character doing wacky or silly things on screen all the time. Like there has to be something wacky or silly or happening in the forefront or in the background constantly in this movie. And it's really annoying. It's like the characters can't just have like a few moments to just sit around and or stand around and talk like normal people. No, something always has to be happening that's funny, silly, or wacky. And that's something that I just really do not like about this movie. It's like the movie doesn't give you a chance to breathe from all the cringy, wacky bullshit. And it's really irritating. And SpongeBob's constant attention seeking in the film. It's not really attention seeking, but it feels like that to me. It's just the icing on the cake. So, yeah, there's just too much wackiness in this film. And it's so forced. But let's go back to the Plankton movie now because I'm not done talking about that yet. Oh, whoops. Positives. Okay. There was also a repetitive gag with him in a Plankton movie where he acts as Plankton's therapist that got old after the first time. Yeah, that's also what annoyed me. That was also what annoyed me in the film. SpongeBob constantly, being a therapist for Plankton, and constantly going back to see what went wrong in the relationship with their backstory and whatnot. Like, I know you're talking about the gag specifically, but to me, it leads into the other problem I was talking about. But as for the gag itself, yeah, like the whole thing with SpongeBob becoming a psychologist that got annoying pretty quickly. They didn't need to do it more than once. But anyway, yeah, Sandy Cheeks is actually um more useful in this movie than in the last movie. So there's that. I'm sorry, I have to go back to this Sandy Cheeks movie again. I thought I was done talking about it. No, I'm not. So this kind of this kind of leads into the first point. Like, you know how there was this evil this evil marine biologist who wanted to use the characters of Bikini Bottom for profit? Somehow they managed to make that boring. Because, like, the thing is that Sandy was collecting scientific data for that organization that the marine biologist owned. But Sandy didn't know that the marine biologist was using that data for her own nefarious purposes. So when she comes to that realization at the end of the movie, it's meant to be this sad, dramatic moment where everyone in Bikini Bottom realizes that Sandy had been helping the villain all along. And then Sandy feels really bad about it, but I don't feel anything from that scene. I didn't feel anything because it was such a stupid, silly, nothing burger plot. Like, it's meant to be this sad, dramatic moment of Sandy realizing that, oh, she messed up and that her love for science doomed everyone. But am I supposed to care? Because like the movie is so wacky and silly and not even in a good way that any emotional weight that one scene of Sandy realizing that she messed up, any emotional weight that could have been present in that scene is just not there. So, I'm just gonna put crappy villain plot or crappy plot with villain that lacked emotional depth and call it a day. Or lacks emotional depth. So that's another thing. Okay, I think that's everything though. Sorry. I could have sworn some of these I forgot to put in, but yeah, that's just what I wanted to talk about. Anyway, um There's also a nice message about. But yeah, Sandy Cheeks is actually a good character this time around in the Plankton movie. But anyway, there's a nice message about the importance of treating your partner right in a relationship because Plankton realizes that he screwed up at the end and that that he should have treated Karen a lot better. And then Karen graciously accepts his heartfelt apology. And then they both try to take over the world together, which fails, thankfully. But yeah, it's a nice touching moment. And even though the execution could have been better, I do like the idea of Plankton reuniting with Karen. Like it's like because honestly, those two just seem so happy together, and I'd hate for them to be separated for too long or permanently. So it's nice that so that was a really nice message about the movie, about the importance of treating your partner right in a relationship. Don't take them for granted, respect their feelings, and if you disagree, um, be respectful about it. Like be attentive to their needs, like basically just treat your partner the way you'd want to be treated. And Plankton learned that important lesson. This message was really the glue that held the movie together. And the reason it works is because, unlike in other episodes, you can tell Plankton actually means it when he confesses his feelings to Karen. Yeah, at first he had like this little empathy chip that Karen took out of her system and threw away. Plankton found it and then put it, and then like the Gallup House put it in his head to help him understand that he mistreated Karen. And at first it was the empathy chip talking about talking through him about how he suddenly started having sensitive feelings for Karen and whatnot. But then he took it out and then realized, and then genuinely, sincerely apologized for all his behavior, and that he this is coming from his heart and not the empathy chip. So it was just a really nice moment. Yeah, like Plankton isn't confessing to Karen because because of the empathy chip that was put into his head, or because he just wants a secret formula back, or whatever. Like he told Karen those things because he loved her. Genuinely, he loved her. And to prove this, like Karen at one point even got the secret formula for Plankton and handed it over to him, but then Plankton literally pushed it away and then said that all he really needed was Karen, not the secret formula. And I was like, Plankton, okay, I see you. Now that's how you apologize. Okay, okay. I see you. I see you. Like that was actually really nice. I actually do like the film a lot for that. So I think those are all the positives I have to say about the movie. And there are quite a few, several even, compared to the Sandy Cheeks movie where I couldn't think of any positives. I'm sorry, like that movie just doesn't have anything good going for it. I mean, it had an interesting setup. Don't get me wrong. Like I would have like it's nice to have a movie that fleshes out Sandy's character and further explains her motivations for moving to the sea and studying science. Like I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, but this is not how you do it. Like it's not how you do it. Plankton movie is definitely a breath of fresh air compared to the Sandy Cheeks movie. I still don't think the Plankton movie is very good, but I do admit that it is definitely a lot better than whatever the Sandy Cheeks movie was. Aw, right? Yeah, like it was a touching moment from Plankton. I should mention some of the gripes I do have with this movie that you didn't mention. Okay, go ahead, because there are probably a few that I missed. Sorry, I tried to think of every single possible point for both negative and positive for each of these movies, and I even looked at other reviews to prepare for this stream, but unfortunately I still missed like one or two. But I think I did a good job of getting out pretty much everything I wanted to say. First off, was what I already mentioned, certain gags. As I already mentioned, certain gags are quite repetitive. They were quite repetitive and could have been trimmed out. Fair, fair. I agree with that. There was quite a bit of overuse regarding gags. which I honestly hoped would have been the case after I watched the leaked version months before it came out on Netflix, but they didn't really do it. Yeah, that's the thing. Like these movies weren't actually improved on after they were leaked. The Sandy Cheeks movie and the Plankton movie, which was sad, but what can you do? What could you do, really? What could you have done? But yeah, like that is another thing I don't like about the movie. Like, just like they could have toned down the gags a bit. But anyway, another one is a nitpick, but there was there really reason for this movie to have a sequence that took place out of water? Like, why does every single SpongeBob movie why does every single SpongeBob movie have to have a section or two that takes place out of the ocean? Just let the little yellow demon stand underwater for crying out loud. Yes, I do remember you mentioning as much in your review. Like that's the thing. Like all the SpongeBob movies really. Um, literally every single one. I can't remember if Sponge on the Run did this, but practically every single one um has a sequence or two that takes place out of water. Like we can't just keep SpongeBob in the ocean. Does he? Why does he have to keep come? Like why does he need to be out of water in the movie? In these movies. Like he can just stay in the ocean. Like just have one movie where he's just take where it's just he's just in the ocean the whole time. Now to be fair, in the first movie gets the excuse of being the first movie. So I'm not complaining about this in the first movie. And I thought it was actually an interesting twist. Like Shell Shitty being a gift shop rather than someplace underneath the sea. But after the first time it starts getting really repetitive and you just want it to stop. Although I will give an excuse for the second movie as well because the movie Sponge Out of Water implies that it's supposed to be out of water, although it was not out of water for very long, which was really stupid, but whatever. So I'm willing to give the first two movies a pass. But after that point, it just gets really irritating uh to constantly have live action sequences where the characters are not in the sea. So yeah, let me go back and this in. Hang on. Okay. Certain gags are overused. Okay. And I'm not going to put down what I talked about because that's not an issue exclusive to the Plankton movie. That's an issue, characters being out of water. That's an issue that happens across pretty much all the movies. So I'm just not going to mention it to put it in this one bullet list because it's not exclusive to this movie. But anyway, hi, the Dance Panda Revival, and anyone else who showed up. I think a few other people showed up. Sorry if I did not greet you right away. Plankton was fine, and so was Search for SquarePants. Oh, I'm sorry, Joshua V875, but I cannot disagree with you more because both of those movies are just not very good. And the last one is a gripe that many fans had. But this movie kind of retcons Mr. Krabs' and Plankton's backstory in Fender Fell. Agree. I found that really weird. I mean, I don't. I feel like I don't understand why the writers did this because this movie acts as if the feud between Krabs and Plankton that occurred when they were kids didn't happen. Like it felt like they just wrote that out of existence, which irked me a bit. It wasn't enough for me to ruin the movie. It wasn't enough to ruin the movie for me. Sorry. um. But it it was something I found slightly annoying, and because they really could have worked that part into they really could have worked the former friendship that crabs and plankton had into the story. It didn't need to be written out like that. Like I like you can have both of these things. They could have had both of these things. I just don't understand why they decided to take one out. Like really, all they could have just done was have plankton and crabs, befriend each other and then try to start a restaurant business together, only for them to have a falling out. And then after they split, then Karen would still stay by Plankton's side, and they would still work together to come up with a business idea of their own. Like you could have had both. It didn't have to be one or the other. So yeah. Oh, you were having pizza? Okay, it's okay, Nasir. Unlike Sponge on the Run, I don't think it was done out of spite. Retconning the Crabs and Plankton's backstory. It wasn't done out of spite, and I don't think it was done out of spite or for the sake of advertising for a dumb spin-off show that nobody wanted, but it felt more like the makers of the movie just forgot. Yeah, that's fair. They probably just forgot about it. If it felt like it was just an oversight on their part. But hey, I will say one thing though. I can kind of forgive it though because the Plankton movie does feel like it was created by somebody who actually people who actually cared more about the SpongeBob lore than the Sandy Cheeks movie. Than the people behind the Sandy Cheeks movie. It felt like the writers, the creators in general, of the Plankton movie cared more about the SpongeBob lore than the people behind the Sandy Cheeks movie, which is actually which makes sense. Like in fact, that's kind of the case. Like what Plankton's voice actor, Mr. Lawrence, like he was the head writer for this movie, so yeah, it checks out, right? Like it makes sense in the end. But anyway, yeah, that's all I have for negatives, really. And positives. So the Plankton movie, if you're wondering what my rating is for it is, I'll tell you anyway, and I'll tell you again at the end of the rant stream as I usually do. I give this a 5 out of 10, which I think is a pretty fair rating, all things considered. I don't think this movie deserves a 6. That would imply that it's a decent film. I don't think it's decent, but I don't think it's terrible either. It's just serviceable. It's just serviceable. I don't think it deserves less than a 5. But that's just me because I know Kind Gamer Patrick in the chat gave it a 4 out of 10. Personally, think a 4 out of 10 is a bit too harsh, but I think a 6 out of 10 is a bit too generous. So I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10, which is which is actually that's less than Maple's rating here. He says 2.5 out of 4 stars, which if you were to do the math, that's like 6.25 out of 10. So like about a 6 out of 10. Which is a bit above my rating, which makes sense because I'm harder on this movie than Maple is. But yeah, and the director for the Plankton movie was actually wait, hold on, Mr. Lawrence did work on the story and screenplay for it. That I already knew. So you're just confirming what I'm saying. So yeah, exactly. Like as Maple said in the chat, yeah, Mr. Lawrence worked on this movie. So and the director was someone that actually knew and understood animation. Okay, that was also a plus. Yeah, like it feels like the Plankton movie had people behind it that knew what they were doing. The execution for the whole concept could have been a lot better, but I will give credit where credit is due. This movie is okay. It's kind of decent. I was thinking of 3 out of 4 stars, but some of those retcons did quite bother me. Hey, that's fair. I found them slightly annoying too. But yeah, I give this movie a 5 out of 10. Could have been better, but it was serviceable enough. It depends on my mood. Hey, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, I guess we'll just move on to Search for SquarePants. Oops. I don't think I have any more writing tips, but Search for SquarePants. Yeah, the Plankton movie was definitely better than the Sandy Cheeks movie, and better than Sponge on the Run. That much is undeniable. In fact, like it's the third best movie out of all six, in my opinion. It's the third best movie out of all six because it's better than Search for SquarePants, which we're about to talk about. Um, so Search for SquarePants. It's just terrible. Like I don't know. I mean, you guys already know this. You guys already know what I'm about to say. This movie is just absolutely terrible. It's just very crappy. Not Sandy Cheeks level crappy, but still pretty crappy. Like I'll just straight up say the rating right now. Like the rating I gave for this movie. I'll say it right now. 3 out of 10. It's just very bad. Not as bad as the Sandy Cheeks movie, but still very bad. It's even worse than Plankton movie, which was actually not terrible, just not that good. It's just it's just a very nothing movie in my opinion. I wouldn't even call it mid, it's just outright terrible. It feels like a discount version of the first film in terms of storytelling because the plots are very similar. In both movies, SpongeBob goes on this quest to prove himself as a person, as an adult, as a big guy, or whatever. But they were like, okay, let's do what the first movie did and make it worse. Let's make it worse. Let's make it unfunny. Let's make it so try hard in terms of the humor. Let's make it cringe. Let's do everything we can to just spit on everything that the first movie attempted. Let's do what the first movie did, but so much worse, because why not? I just, why was this movie even created? Like, what was the point of this movie? I can kind of see the point of the other two movies. I'm not gonna lie. I can kind of see the point of the other two movies. Because the Plankton movie and the Sand Cheeks movie, those were meant to be movies that would flesh out those characters more, right? They didn't do a very good job, but at least you can kind of see the purpose of those, right? They weren't necessary, but they kind of did have a purpose. What's the purpose for this movie? Like, what reason was there for this movie to be a thing? It gives me Sponge on the Run vibes. It gives me Sponge on the Run vibes, but somehow I think is it as bad as Sponge on the Run though? That I actually don't know. They're both very bad movies, honestly. I'd say this one's probably a bit better, if I'm going to be honest, because this one feels like it has more of a story. I would say this one is a bit better than Sponge on the Run, like just slightly though, very slightly, because Sponge on the Run had such a nothing story, but this one, the story is like it's there, but it's just very basic, and it's so recycled. This movie feels like it feels so recycled. It's as Maple pointed out in the chat, it's literally just the same as the first movie of SpongeBob needing to prove himself. He wants to be a man in the first movie. He wants to be a big guy in this movie. So what was the purpose of having this movie? It was so unnecessary. For what I understand, this was originally supposed to be a spinoff for Mr. Krabs, until the high ups of Paramount and Nickelodeon were impressed with the early storyboards and stories that they decided to make this into a movie where SpongeBob is the main lead. Okay, Okay, that actually explains a lot. Because the thing is that Mr. Krabs is still a prominent character in this film, but he's not the focus. SpongeBob is. Mr. Krabs is just out there looking for SpongeBob because he unfortunately drove SpongeBob into taking this perilous journey. So Mr. Krabs is actually quite important in this film, but he's not the main character, and honestly, he really should have been. I would have been fine with it. Like even if this movie ended up being just as terrible, I would have been fine with that instead of just another film where SpongeBob has to prove himself because the first one apparently wasn't enough for Paramount. Yeah, I didn't feel it that much in the movie itself. I didn't feel like this was originally supposed to be a Mr. Krabs movie, but We should have just gone with that. Like, it goes back to the writing tip I had earlier. Don't reuse plot points if you don't do anything interesting with them. It's okay to provide a fresh new take on something that's already been done before. Plenty of stories do it. This is not how you do it. Like, this movie is just retreading stuff that we already know. Like, even to the point reusing some of the same jokes from the first movie or from the original SpongeBob show. And I'm just like, it's just really annoying. I mean, I will admit this movie does actually feel like a movie compared to the Sandy Cheeks movie, which didn't feel like a movie at all. I refuse to call it a movie. This actually does feel like a movie, like the Plankton movie did. Just it's just worse. It was just worse than the Plankton movie. Yeah, exactly, Kind Gamer Patrick. What's the point of doing this movie? You guys are just going to do the same thing. At least when Spider-Man does things like this, he mixes it up. Or any other superhero, or any other story out there that exists, where you have multiple versions of the same character, or multiple versions of basically the same story. Mix it up. But here's the thing, though. This movie did try to do that. I will give the movie credit for one thing. It did try to do that. It did try to do things a bit differently this time around. But here's the thing, though. It tried. It didn't succeed. It only tried. Like it tried to like make the Flying Dutchman an integral part of the film because he's actually the antagonist, the big bad. Um, they tried to just have SpongeBob go through a different journey instead. But the thing is that this journey just isn't as good as the original journey. The original journey from the first movie. That one was funny. It was heartwarming. It was engaging. This is none of that. It's none of that. Excuse me. Yeah, this movie isn't very interesting, not gonna lie, but hey, at least I didn't fall asleep. Almost fall asleep this time, like I did with the Plankton movie. Although to be fair, like the Plankton movie is better than this movie. It's just that, like, its meandering nature just kept me from, being fully attentive. And it didn't help that I was already feeling kind of sleepy during that while when I was watching that movie. So I should have mentioned that. Like, it wasn't entirely the movie's fault that I felt sleepy, but the movie just exacerbated that sleepiness because it was kind of boring to me. But with the Search for SquarePants movie, it kept my attention throughout, but it was just not a very interesting plot. It was just not very interesting. I just I just don't understand how you could take a classic plot from the first movie and somehow make it worse and boring and more boring. Exactly. It feels like yet another SpongeBob movie. Like it's just, oh, one of the movies of all time, as Dumbsville would put it. It really does feel like that. It's just so bare bones. So despite having some interesting visuals and animation, um, it's just such a nothing movie in my opinion. Yeah, I don't have much to say on it either. I had a lot to say about the first two movies, but in this one, I don't really have much to say because, like I said, it's a nothing movie. It didn't need to happen. It could have been about Mr. Krabs. It should have been about Mr. Krabs instead, because that way the movie's existence would have been justified to some degree. To some degree. But no, make it about SpongeBob again, and don't do anything different with him this time. Just give him the same hero's journey, like where he has to prove himself somehow. Just So, yeah, the storytelling just feels very lazy and by the numbers and basic. Like this movie just feels so by the numbers. Like not as bad it's not as bad as the Sandy Cheeks movie was in that regard, but still pretty bad. Like it just felt like another run-of-the-mill SpongeBob movie. And it didn't help that the humor was so lame. Like there were so many jokes throughout the film. They weren't as, irritating as the ones in the Sandy Cheeks movie, but they were still just not very good overall. And I was so surprised to hear a few people in the theater laughing at some of these jokes. I'm like, why are you guys laughing? These jokes aren't funny. I get that humor is subjective, but honestly, I don't think these jokes are very good in terms of humor. Like They feel like the kind of things that young kids would write. I'm sorry, that's an insult to young kids because some kids actually can make some pretty good stories. It can be funny. But like this the whole the all the humor in this movie feels like it was created by an amateur. And I could tell because literally most of the people in the theater didn't really laugh all that much at the jokes. I mean, some jokes here and there people laughed at, but like there wasn't a lot of laughter. It wasn't like Zootopia 2 that was just constantly funny. It wasn't like that at all. No. In this movie, there were a lot of attempts to get laughter, but most of them just didn't stick. Most of the jokes felt so flat, and it didn't help that they used the same. This is something that I appreciate the Plankton movie for because it actually toned this down. This movie uses the same wacky, over the top, constantly in your face humor that the Sandy Cheeks movie did, and I'm like, it's not working. If it didn't work there, it's not going to work here. Although I will admit that since the movie is just more pleasant to look at than the Sandy Cheeks movie was, at least the jokes and gags don't look crappy or out of place like in the Sandy Cheeks movie. So there's that. But like the humor was just really lame all around. The best jokes were the ones that already played in the trailer. Yeah, like the one where SpongeBob and Patrick are just playing around with this coral, like putting it on their faces and whipping each other with it. That was funny. That moment was actually funny because that was in the trailer. But and there are a few other jokes that were in the trailer that were actually pretty decent. But yeah, overall this movie was just not funny. So yeah, um, and the dialogue is pretty cringe. It kind of just goes back to it leads into the second point with the lame humor. It not only does this feel like it. Not only does this movie feel like someone never written a joke before, it also feels like someone had never written dialogue before. I mean, the dialogue's better than the Sand Chicks movie, I'm not gonna lie, but it's still pretty bad here. Like the dialogue is just absolutely terrible in this movie. Just terrible. Better than in the Sandy Cheeks movie, but that's really not saying much. It's like it feels like these writers just don't know how to write anything. They don't know how to write comedy. They don't know how to write stories. They feel like wacky, over the top, in your face humor combined with forced, cringy, awkward dialogue makes for a good movie. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Please stop doing it. It's basically just this movie kind of feels like the Sandy Cheeks movie, but better. But again, that's not saying much. That's part of the thing. That's part of what I appreciate about the Plankton movie. As I said earlier, that's part of the reason why I appreciate Plankton movie because it doesn't force humor down your throat. It doesn't have all this wacky, in your face, over the top humor. In fact, the movie actually feels more grounded in a sense. That's one thing I like about the Plankton movie. Like the humor isn't constantly in your face and forced. So So yeah, I can see why people like the Plankton movie more than the other two movies because the other two movies, the Sandy Cheeks movie and the Search for SquarePants movie, they're just not good. What the fuck was up with that joke where SpongeBob and Patrick are playing with their things? Like, did Nick and Paramount have any self awareness with that? It's hard to say. I don't think they did because these were the same people that made a joke about showing us Patrick's ass cheeks at one point. No, literally, we saw his ass cheeks, his droopy ass cheeks in the movie, and I was like, did we really need to see that? Like just I'm like, ew. I can't get that image out of my head now. Can't. But anyway, even then, the best jokes just gave me a mild chuckle on that, and that was it. Exactly. Exactly. Same here. Like I see, the thing is that this movie is so unfunny that I can count the number of times on one hand I actually laughed. So, yeah, and the dialogue was just as bad too. Like it's like whoever. I feel like people really should screen the people that they want working on their movies a lot better. Don't hire inexperienced people to write screenplays because like you can tell like if a script is bad, you can tell it was created by somebody who had never written a screenplay before or who hadn't had much experience writing screenplays because it will show in the writing. So Paramount, Nickelodeon, Viacom, do better. Anyway, yeah, and for some reason Ice Spice is in this movie. Why? I just like why? Out of all the celebrities you could have put in this movie, why did you get her? Because in this movie she plays a very minor character that shows up in like only one scene, like the person that lets people go on the rides. And yeah, she made a song called Big Guy as well that plays in the movie. It's not a very good song, by the way, but I'm not surprised. I mean, it's Ice Spice we're talking about. She's just not very good at writing songs, let alone lyrics. So yeah, why is Ice Spice in this movie? I say this because like she has such a questionable past, a questionable history. Like, this is the woman that's caused quite a number of quite a bit of controversy and had a great start to her career, but then lost it faster than Squidward lost his hair. It, like out of all the celebrities you could have asked, you chose her? Paramount? Nickelodeon? Really? Ice Spice is 26 years old now. Oh, interesting. I can't believe I'm actually older than her. Yeah, because you're like what, 27? No, 28. Because you're 3 years younger than me and I'm 31. So, oh, did I say Happy New Year yet? I don't think I did. Happy New Year, everyone. I forgot to say it. I meant to say it at the beginning of the stream, but I forgot. So yeah, we're starting our new year off with a rant stream that rips apart the three most recent SpongeBob movies. I forgot to say Happy New Year. Wow. Okay. It's about as appropriate of a fit as Akon was to Sonic 06, right? Because Akon did not fit in Sonic 06's soundtrack. Like I always found, even when I liked the game back as a kid, I always found his his duet with some Japanese singer. I forgot what her name was. It was a remix of that Japanese singer's song. I always found that out of place in that game. Like it did not belong in that game. I know like it was meant to be for Sonic and Lisa's story, but I did not think it was a good fit. Oh yeah, you're 28, yeah. I guess uh Ice Spice was in this movie because Snoop Dogg was in Sponge on the Run. Yeah, that's true, but w- like why? Snoop Dogg didn't need to be in Sponge on the Run. And Ice Spice didn't need to be in this movie. So yeah, like I feel like if you're gonna put celebrities in these movies, at least do it with a good reason. Do it for a good reason. Um, because Ice Spice, like seriously, why her? Like she's had some controversy and she's not all that relevant anymore. It's like you couldn't like could you not get someone like Nicki Minaj or Drake or any other rapper? I don't know. I just it's weird. Or did Nicki Minaj and Drake would they have cost too much? I don't know. Yeah, see, this movie was already pretty bad, and having Ice Spice in it just made it a bit worse, in my opinion. But I think those are all the negatives I have. I do have a few positives, I will admit, but it seems Maple does too. But Yeah. I'm still not entirely sure what the hell the title of this movie is supposed to mean. You know what? Neither do I. Um, I mean, obviously, like the movie is about Mr. Krabs trying to find SpongeBob before he does something really dangerous, like helping the Flying Dutchman break his curse, so that the Flying Dutchman could put his curse onto somebody else. But, but like, but no, but that's the thing. But like, yeah, like when you read the title of this movie, you think, oh, SpongeBob's in trouble, we gotta save him, and that's not exactly wrong. But he's n- he's not really in danger most of the time, if we think about it. like from the movie, as Maple pointed out in the chat, you would think like upon reading the title for this movie, you would think, oh, okay, so SpongeBob's been captured or kidnapped or whatever, and we have to go and save him. But no, it's really just catching up to SpongeBob before he can, you know, give the Flying Dutchman what he wants. So I don't know. I guess the title is a reference to SpongeBob's search for manhood, but yeah, yeah, they could have picked a better title for this movie, but I think it works still, mm, to some degree anyway. I think it still works. But yeah, they could have picked a better name. In the first movie said that SpongeBob was a kid and he accepted it. In this movie, it's like let's throw all that in the trash and let SpongeBob want to be a man, even though in the first movie he's just a kid. In this movie, it makes no sense. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, see, in the first movie, he was a kid. He was a kid, at least in everyone's eyes. Like, he may have been adult. He was adult age, obviously, but like to everyone, he was still technically just a kid. You know, like just a very young kid. Um, he and Patrick, and he wanted and look and like he and Patrick want to prove to everyone that that they weren't kids, that they were men. But then they realized, you know what? It's okay for kids because we did a bunch of shit that kids couldn't do. That everyone said kids can do. Sorry, like they went to Shell City and got the crown back. No kid has ever done that before. So so the movie was more about accepting yourself as you are. And I feel like they try to do that for Search for SquarePants, but they just fucked it up entirely. So yeah, oops. Because in the first one, like SpongeBob grows just a little bit, and he thinks, "Oh well, yay! I'm a big guy now, and I'm tall enough to go on this ride and whatever. So yay, I'm the shit now." Then Mr. Krabs is like, "No, no, you're not, fam. No, you're not." Like, you're not a big guy like me. And then SpongeBob is like, I can be, and I'll prove it. And then he goes off on this journey and whatever. It just did not feel as interesting or as heartwarming or as profound as the first movie, if I'm going to be honest. This movie's storyline was pretty weak. So, oops. To be fair, I do believe the first movie was intended to be the epilogue of the series, and like everything else that 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 would come after that is a pre would be a prequel to that. Yeah, that's true. That is true. But see, the thing about that, and you already know this, but I'll say it anyway. The thing about that is that Steven Hillenburg, I don't think he ever intended to continue the series after that point, or at least like not have it go for too long. Because because like clearly Nickelodeon start wanted to do more, a lot more with the series, and Steven Hillenburg was like, no. So and we can tell because the series declined in quality a lot, quite a bit, not a lot, quite a bit after the movie, and then got worse from there. So yeah, I really do think that it was just going to be 3 seasons and then the movie and then that and then boom, done. And that would have been fine. I actually think that would have been fine because here's the thing: like a similar thing happened with Jimmy Neutron. Like Jimmy Neutron only had like 3 seasons. The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron had only 3 seasons, and it ended on a good note actually. And there were a few movies here and there, but including the crossover movies with the Fairly Odd Parents. But like it actually had a pretty good run. It had 3 seasons and then some movies and then it stopped. And SpongeBob had actually had something like that. It had one movie at the end, along with a few specials here and there, and then the rest of the episodes, and then it would just and then I assume it was originally supposed to stop. But then Nickelodeon was like, no, let's do more with it, and then the series suffered for it. So yeah, basically what I'm saying is that sure, like clearly the first movie was meant to be the very last part of the series, but knowing that doesn't make me see these other movies in in a more positive light. Like it doesn't give me any slack towards these other movies because clearly these other movies are supposed to take place before that final movie, but um at this point like the writers clearly don't care and they're just writing whatever they're creating whatever movie comes to mind. So sorry to get off topic for a bit, but yeah, really like SpongeBob, I don't think it was meant to go after. It was meant to continue after the movie. It was really just the first 3 seasons and then the movie. At least from what I've heard. Steven Hillenburg didn't seem to have any more plans after the movie. Because honestly, it would SpongeBob could have just stopped right there. Yeah, it would have been sad not to have any more SpongeBob episodes, but sometimes, like, all good things have to come to an end, right? I used to say that a lot in my streams, in my older streams. Like, sometimes it's good to let things die, like to end, not die. I don't want to use the word die. Sometimes it's good to let things end. When there's a good when the opportunity presents itself. But anyway, let's go to positives. Yes, but I just wanted to point that out. So the Flying Dutchman is actually really enjoyable as a villain. I actually do like the Flying Dutchman's portrayal in this movie. Like it's an interesting take on this character because normally he's not like this. Like in this movie, he's pretty silly and wacky and like just doing a bunch of silly stuff with SpongeBob. I found it weird at first, but I was like, actually, no, I like this version of the Flying Dutchman. I think it's a really interesting take on this character. This is the one thing that the movie did right in terms of taking something that's been done before and putting a spin on it, a new spin on it. Like they didn't do that with the story, but they did it with this character. So I actually do enjoy the Flying Dutchman. Like he was. I actually do enjoy watching. I actually did enjoy watching his scenes. And yeah, the voice actor for him was pretty good. So as usual. So like, yeah, like I really did like watching the Flying Dutchman here. Like, not only is he a more engaging character than usual in my opinion, but he's also, but like, but like he's But like he also made for a pretty good antagonist. He was really manipulative, not gonna lie. Like he made SpongeBob think he was his friend, like even like literally going out of his way to make SpongeBob feel good about himself and just acting silly with him and spending time with him and whatnot. Like it also makes you think that he really wants to be friends with SpongeBob, but nope, he's just using SpongeBob. and just straight up uses and just straight up like ditches him at the end, betrays him. And I was like, dude, that's cold. And honestly, the Flying Dutchman was just such a good villain because of that. So, oh wow, babe. I quite enjoyed Mark Hamill's performance as a joke. I mean, Flying Dutchman. I see what you did there. I did question why they recast the role before seeing the movie, but after watching it, I could understand why. Mostly because they wanted Mark Hamill to play a live action version of the character, and he looks much more like the Flying Dutchman in real life than the VA does from the show. Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. And he actually did the character a good service. Like the Flying Dutchman was a lot crazier and wackier than usual. And somebody like Mark Hamill, who's had experience voicing characters like that, honestly was perfect for the role. So yeah, it's been mostly THQ Nordic that has been carrying the franchise post Hillenberg, and it shows. Anyway, but yeah, I actually did like this version of the Flying Dutchman. And the voice acting was actually good this time around. Not anything Oscar worthy, in my opinion, but it was actually, I'd say the voice acting was actually good this time around, or at the very least decent. Like, it felt like the voice actors, they didn't feel as, flat and boring and phoned in as in the Sandy Cheeks movie. And I'd argue that the voice acting was even better than in the Plankton movie. I mean, it wasn't terrible in the Plankton movie. I just felt like it could have been better. But I actually think the Search for SquarePants movie actually has better voice acting than the Plankton movie and the Sandy Cheeks movie. So there's that. Um, and yeah, I actually did like that this movie fleshed out SpongeBob's and Mr. Krabs' relationship. I like that too. I'll put that in the positives. I actually like that. Like Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob actually feel like genuine friends in this film, despite the conflict they had at the beginning of the story, which was something that I honestly, for the most part, had never seen from any of the previous movies, or even from very many of the episodes from the original show. So it was actually nice to see that development here. Like Mr. Krabs does feel like a mentor for SpongeBob at times, and this movie really does lean into that a lot. So I actually do like how SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs, how the relationship between them develops in this movie. I thought it was very sweet. I don't know if that had more to do with the fact that this was originally supposed to be a Mr. Krabs spinoff. That was still welcome. I agree. I agree. Although I didn't like how. Well, actually, no. Now I think about it, I don't think that's an issue. Never mind. Forget it. Forget it. I mean, it basically had to change Mr. Krabs' backstory quite a bit, but which was what I was going to complain about. But now that I think about it, I actually don't mind Mr. Krabs' backstory being altered like this. So just so that he could have a stronger mentor mentor employee or whatever or student relationship with SpongeBob, and to have him be a stronger parallel to SpongeBob. I actually didn't mind that they modified his backstory quite a bit. So yeah, I actually did like the way that this movie handled SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs' relationship. Mr. Krabs has taken SpongeBob for granted from time to time. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are a few episodes in the original show that even address this issue, like the one where SpongeBob and Patrick go on strike. SpongeBob and Squidward go on strike at the Krusty Krab. But and there are a few other episodes that do explore what the Krusty Krab would be like if SpongeBob weren't the fry cook behind it. So yeah. Oh yeah. Of course. I knew I was forgetting the positive. Yeah. The animation is actually good. I mentioned this earlier technically, but I forgot to put it down here. I'm always forgetting to put down like one bullet point, at least one bullet point. Always forgetting, even though I try my hardest to include every single point I can think of. But whatever. The animation is actually good here. Definitely better than in the Sandy Cheeks movie, and even better than in the Plankton movie. Like the animation is actually good here. Like on par with Sponge on the Run, or even better in my opinion. I think this might actually be better looking than Sponge on the Run. This movie does actually look good. The animation is good. The visuals are good. Like, but the storytelling is not as good as in the Plankton movie, I'm afraid. Which is sad because this movie actually did do a better job of keeping me engaged and attentive than the Plankton movie did, but honestly the storytelling's a bit weaker this time around, so but yeah, the animation and visuals are actually good this time around. Like, or at the very least decent. Like nothing Oscar worthy, but definitely better than what we've seen from the last two films. Oh yeah, that's true. Like there was also that episode where Mr. Krabs sold SpongeBob's soul for 62 cents. So yeah, there are several episodes where Mr. Krabs learns a harsh lesson about not taking his employees for granted, especially SpongeBob, because SpongeBob is literally the reason that Krusty Krab is so successful. Not Squidward, SpongeBob. Squidward's just a cashier who grumbles at everyone. No, it's SpongeBob that's the reason that this Krusty Krab is so successful. And of course, there's also Mr. Krabs' business acumen, like his business sense. Like that's an important part. But it's really SpongeBob that's making the Krusty Krab so successful. Like he's the biggest reason as to why it's so successful because he's the one making the products. But yeah, even the live action parts weren't that terrible this time around. I agree. I agree, actually. The live action parts weren't actually that bad this time around. Like, definitely better than in the previous two movies. Because in the Sandy Cheeks movie, the live action segments were just terrible. And in the Plankton movie, this was also the case. Though I will say that to be fair for the Plankton movie, at least they kept the live action segment at the very end of the film rather than introducing it early on in the Sandy Cheeks movie. So there was that. So the Plankton movie does have that. Like it had live action, but at least the live action was very short and minimal. So I will give it that much. But the Search for SquarePants movie has a bit more live action. Not much more than the Plankton movie, but still, but like, but it still didn't have that much, but it did have some live action segments, and they were actually not terrible this time around. Not great, but not terrible either. So compared to the other two movies where they were just flat out terrible, but here the live action segments actually weren't terrible. I guess I'll put that down as a positive. It doesn't change my rating for the movie. I still give it a 3 out of 10. But the live action segments weren't weren't terrible. They weren't great, but they weren't terrible either. So yeah. And speaking of which, did you know that the pirate at the very beginning of this movie was Clancy Brown, the voice of Mr. Krabs? Oh, I knew. I knew. I knew. That was very obvious from the moment he started speaking. So yeah. Oh hey, Latin Romano. But I guess those are all the pauses I can say. I can talk about because I don't have any others. So yeah, Search for SquarePants, not a good film, but definitely better than the Sandy Cheeks movie. Not as good as the Plankton movie, but definitely better than the Sandy Cheeks movie. Overall, it's just a very another basic, run of the mill SpongeBob movie, and I wouldn't even call it mid because mid would imply that it's average. This movie is not average; it's just bad. But It's not the worst thing I've ever seen from this list. That would be the Sandy Cheeks movie. But anyway, I didn't hate the movie, but there's just not much here that's worth seeing this movie in theaters for. Yeah, exactly. Like it's just such a Search for SquarePants is just such a nothing movie. It has a few good parts to it, but but overall, I mean, but overall, it's just not a very good movie. But I didn't hate it. I just thought it was lame. Sorry. Anyway, no, I'm not sorry. But but yeah, if you really want to see a new animated kids film for the family that's still out in theaters, just go see Zootopia 2, which still has plenty of showings in theaters. Yep. And once that, and like I said before, once that is released on physical media, I'm buying that. I already had the first movie on physical media. I'm getting the second movie as well. I will buy every single Zootopia movie. I don't care what anyone has to say because I love the series that much. But anyway, but yeah, so regarding these three SpongeBob movies, the Sandy Cheeks movie, the Plankton movie, and the Search for SquarePants movie, I can't recommend any of them. They're just terrible. Sorry, not sorry. They're all just not very good. I mean, with the exception of the first movie, they all the- like the Sandy Cheeks movie doesn't have anything good going for it. The other two movies have a few good positives, but overall they're just not very good. Especially the Search for SquarePants movie, like that one was just not very good. But in any case, the Plankton movie is the best one. So if you were to watch one movie out of those three that I just talked about, just watch the Plankton movie. But really, I would not recommend any of them. I think they're all terrible. But some, but the degree of, but the degree of terribleness varies between the movies. But anyway, so Search for SquarePants is not a movie that you should go that's really worth going to the theaters for. As Maple said in the chat, I only went to watch it in theaters because I wanted to see what it was like. I was just curious. I was morbidly curious about all these movies. If I hadn't been morbidly curious, I wouldn't have cared to see any of them. But I watched them and I didn't like any of them. I thought they were all absolutely terrible. Well, not absolutely. The Sandy Cheeks movie was absolutely terrible. The other two weren't as terrible, but were still pretty bad. But hey, I mean, it is what it is. Nickelodeon's really gonna have to get their asses in gear if they want to start making good SpongeBob movies again, or whoever's responsible for making these movies. I don't care. Get your asses in gear and do it right. Please do it right. But yeah, I would say that Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie, gets a 1 out of 10 from me. The Plankton movie gets a 5 out of 10, and Search for SquarePants gets a 3 out of 10. And that's really it. Um, that's all I have to say about these movies. Paramount, as I said before, I don't think Paramount has been happy with the box office results for Search for SquarePants. Yeah, well, that's what happens when you don't try hard enough to make a good movie. So, oops. Really, like, if this movie had just had better writers, I feel like it would have done better. It's really just the script and the plot that hold this movie back. Because the humor and story are both very lame. I mean, there are a few good parts here and there, but yeah, Search for SquarePants is just not a very good movie. It's just terrible. Not Sandy Cheeks level terrible, but still pretty terrible. I agree on you, Rand. Oh, well, I appreciate that. And I know, and once again, I'm aware that not everyone is going to agree with me because the thing is that some of this is subjective. Some of this is subjective, and that's okay. Like, I don't think there's a single review out there for any movie or really for any work of art that's entirely objective. You know? But I tried to be as subjective as I could, not gonna lie. I do try to be as subjective as I can with with these rant streams because I don't want to just have just opinions, opinions, opinions. I want some of what I say to be backed by actual logic and facts. And much of what I said was pretty objective. I mean, these movies just aren't good. Can anybody say a single one of these movies, or any of the movies I mentioned, can anybody say that these are objectively good? Because they're not. I can't. I can't think of a reason to call them objectively good. I mean, they're not all equally terrible, but they're just not very good. They're not. But anyway, that's all I have to say about these movies. Nickelodeon can't let go of SpongeBob. Yeah, see, it's kind of like how Cartoon Network can't let go of The Amazing World of Gumball, right? Where you suck as a network so badly that you need to rely on your only cash cows, your only remaining IPs left to actually do the work for you. Because you can't make good shows anymore. You have to rely on old shows. And it also doesn't help that with all these streaming services and with YouTube and YouTube TV and whatnot, like nobody really needs to watch TV anymore aside from news and sports. And even though you can actually watch some of that stuff online, like on streaming services, so like YouTube TV, for example. So oops, that's even less of a reason to watch TV. Oops. Some would argue the Plankton movie, but not the other two. Yeah, and that's fair. The Plankton movie is the best one out of all of them, but I'm sorry, I just can't call it good. I don't think it's good. It's not terrible, obviously, but I don't think it's good either. Like literally, whenever you compare products like this, something like the Plankton movie to the other two movies, of course it's going to look good in comparison. People are going to speak positively about it. But I don't let that cloud. I don't want to sound. I don't want to sound. I don't want to sound negative or demeaning or whatever here or superior here. I just don't let that kind of stuff cloud my judgment. Sure, the Plankton movie is better than the other two movies, but at the end of the day, it's still a bad movie. But I can tell. I will give credit where credit is due. It's clear that the movie actually did have hearts behind it. It had effort put into it, way more effort than the other two movies. It's just that the effort didn't fully pay off. Cartoons are dying? Yeah. Like I haven't watched TV since 2013. That's how bad TV is nowadays. I've literally ever just after I graduated high school, I went to university to live at a university. Like I literally just did not care about TV at that point. I just didn't care. And I have not watched TV regularly ever since. And it's 2026 now. And I graduated from high school in what? 2013. So that's almost 13 years of not regularly watching TV because I just don't see the point in doing so anymore. And I'm glad I tapped out when I did. I'm so glad I tapped out when I did. Like literally, like, and I'm not even alone in my family in thinking like this because I'm not the only one in my family that feels this way. My brother and my sister, they don't watch TV either, not anymore. They use streaming services. Uh, Hulu, Disney Plus, Peacock, Netflix, stuff like that. My mom's the same thing too. She uses YouTube TV as well. She is very much into YouTube TV. So, which is like cable, but on YouTube because you can watch actual live stuff on YouTube TV. Like, well, you can do that on YouTube as well, but with YouTube TV, there's more you can do with it. Like, you can watch like sports games and whatnot or newscasts. So something that you couldn't, something that like YouTube, well, news you could watch on YouTube, but YouTube TV just takes it to a whole nother level. So yeah, we don't use cable anymore. Like at one point, my mom was like, "We why we like let's just stop paying for cable. We don't use it." So it's really just internet we use, internet and streaming services. We pay for that stuff, but not for cable because there's no point. We don't even use phone services anymore either because like we have our own phones to use. So Do we really need we do we really need a dedicated phone service from a cable company? No. So yeah. So yeah, basically like there's really no reason to watch cable anymore. But there's really nothing good on nowadays. Like you could use it for, I'm sure some people could argue that cable could be useful for reruns, but the thing is that you can watch your old classic shows online anyway through certain streaming services like Hulu, Peacock, Netflix, Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, Hulu, um, Amazon Prime Video. I use most of those services, by the way. So like you could watch, like I've been watching the Batman the Animated Series on Prime Video. So like you don't need cable for that, for reruns of classics like that. No, you can just use streaming services nowadays. And hell, yeah, and like with physical media like 4K discs or Blu-ray discs or DVDs, like there's also that. So, and pretty much everyone has a Blu-ray or even a 4K player nowadays, or at the very least a DVD player. So, with all that in mind, do you really need cable? Like, I use streaming services and watch movies on physical media way more. That's all I do nowadays, and play video games as well. With all that, I don't need cable, and I surf the internet as well. I do that too. So like, you don't need cable if you have all that. Mm. But we already know how useless cable is nowadays, aside from news and sports coverage, and I guess certain reruns. Removing the egg movie from theaters is not a good look for Paramount. You're right, it's not. Especially since they keep trying to convince Warner Brothers to sell to them. Yeah, no. I really hope Warner Brothers doesn't do that. Don't do it. Please don't do it. And Warner Brothers keeps telling Paramount to go fuck themselves. Good. Because Warner Brothers is already in deep shit. They don't need to be bought out by another company. I don't even know what the latest Cartoon Network or Nick show is. Well, who does? Wait, what is that ringing noise? Hang on. That's weird. I heard some sort of ringing noise. Maybe it was from some TV. Maybe someone's watching something that has a ringing telephone in it. But anyway, my mom only uses cable streaming apps for news. Other than that, she only uses streaming services. Yeah, basically. Me and my family use streaming services. We also use DVD. Okay. I still use DVD too. Okay. I still use cable mostly to watch movies that are playing on TV while I'm multitasking. Fair enough. Like there are cases where it's more convenient to just use cable, but yeah, like really cable is just not, it's just not very useful anymore because like you like even with reruns like cable isn't using cable isn't showing as many reruns as it once did, as somebody pointed out in the chat here. So because I used to kind of use cable for reruns, like for classic shows like Family Matters, for example. But after a point, I was just like, why am I using this? I think there's an effort to try to bring TV back because streaming is becoming too expensive for a lot of people. I agree. I agree. Like recently, recently the Disney Plus membership I had increased in price by a bit, like by $1 or $2, and I was like, oh, this is becoming a bit expensive for me. And and like yeah, and like there are other streaming services that are increasing in price, but but um but yeah, like streaming is becoming a bit expensive. But honestly, I don't think it's too bad right now. Hopefully, it doesn't get worse a lot worse later. But but yeah, I can hand. But yeah, like streaming, like covering the cost of streaming right now, not that bad because I use Disney Plus a lot, so I need it. It's really Disney Plus and Prime that I use along with Netflix, but everything else. But like the other services that I have at my disposal, I don't use very much. I don't use Hulu very much or Peacock or what was the other one? YouTube TV. Yeah, I don't really use those that much. It's really just Netflix and Disney Plus and um Prime Video that I use. Oh yeah, my mom used to have Paramount Plus, but she doesn't know what she did with the login information, which is sad because I was thinking about using Paramount Plus at one point because there are a few things I do want to watch on that, like a few certain Nickelodeon shows that are classics. But it is what it is. We can figure that out later. I Warner Brothers is clearly committed to being sold to Netflix, which I still don't like either because I'm getting sick and tired of all these companies merging. Although the merger itself won't be complete until after Warner Brothers splits from Discovery sometime this year. Okay. And even then, the transaction for Netflix X Warner Brothers probably won't be complete until 2027. Okay, so there's still quite a bit of time before that happens. But yeah, I agree. Like it's annoying to see all these companies merging and becoming one. It is annoying because like I just don't like the idea of a company that I'm just so used to consuming content from being bought out by another company. And Disney is very guilty of doing this. We've already seen what they've done. They've bought out Marvel, Fox, Star Wars, and at this point, I'm just like, please stop. Please stop buying up all these companies. Stop doing it. Let Disney just stick to your own stuff. Leave these other companies alone. Because Marvel was already in a bad state, and Disney just went and made it worse, in my opinion. I know Disney isn't the only company that does this, but they are one of the biggest offenders, in my opinion. They want to buy out everything, and then they flaunt all of their new shiny toys. All the new intellectual properties that they have, like they did in Ralph Breaks the Internet. Like there was literally a few scenes of them just pretty much waving all their IPs in our face, all their newly acquired IPs. And I'm like, Disney, like, please stop blowing your own horn because what you're making isn't even very good anyway. Disney actually bought Marvel in 2009. Yeah, that's right. It was some time ago. It was actually quite a while ago. It was actually a long ass time ago. But see, the thing is that I'm not necessarily against the idea of Marvel being bought out by Disney. I just think Disney made Marvel worse. That was when the MCU just got started and only planned up until the first Avengers movie. Oh, yeah, and it shows. Because again, the MCU wasn't that's the thing, the MCU like yeah, now I think about it, you're right. The MCU wasn't that bad. Or actually not just the MCU, I'm sorry, just Marvel in general. It wasn't so bad. But after Disney but not long after Disney bought it, ooh, yeah. Disney also owns Hulu. Yeah, I don't like that. And plus, every time like not every time I log in, but sometimes I'm asked to, get Hulu as well. I'm like, Disney, leave me the fuck alone. I don't want Hulu. Especially when I already have it on a separate account. Leave me alone. I just want Disney Plus. Paramount used to own Marvel. They actually owned the first Avengers movie. Oh, I didn't know that. Gosh, I should go and brush up on my history here because I'm getting a few things wrong. Or I'm just not aware of a few things. Gosh, it's been so long since any of that has happened. Oop, my bad. But yeah, I think what happened was that Disney took Marvel and then just went out of control with it. Like, I feel like the MCU wouldn't have gotten this messy if it hadn't been for Disney. I mean, sure, it would have branched out regardless, but like, I felt like Disney just accelerated um, its, clusterfuckery, for lack of a better term. I believe Paramount distributed the first Iron Man movie, but they did not own Marvel. Oh, okay. But okay, so it's nice to have a correction there. Okay. Well, it's good to have that correction. Sorry, I don't fully know about this stuff. But yeah, thankfully it seems that Marvel is slowly, trying to limit the amount of content it produces because it produces so much. They've been producing so much. I'm like, guys, you need to tone it down a bit, like dial it back a bit, because you have all these specials and movies and characters, and it's way too much to keep up with. Which is why I'm glad I tapped out before it could get so bad. I'm so glad I tapped out when I had the chance. Because at that point, like even before that whole mess with the MCU, I was losing interest in superheroes. I've said this to you guys plenty of times, but yeah, so I was like, I'm just not gonna bother with most superheroes nowadays. I just lost interest, and thank God I did. And then here I am coming back trying to get into them again, and now I see that the MCU is way out of control. Jesus. But anyway, speaking of which, they did finally show the Thor teaser online for Doomsday. Oh, did they? I did not know that. I recently watched all the Thor moves. All four Thor movies. I recently watched all of them within the last few months, so that's interesting to know. Not gonna lie, Thor felt more like Thor in that one teaser than he did in all of Love and Thunder. Yeah, which I recently watched. Like I watched it a few days ago with my stepsister. Yeah, undergoes quite the characterization in these movies. Like he changes quite a bit throughout these movies, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, I don't think. I don't really have any comments on whether or not like Thor changed for the better, but I will say that in the first Thor movie, he definitely did feel quite different compared to how he was in the last movie. So, yeah. I remember when Paramount used to distribute DreamWorks Animation until DreamWorks was owned by Universal. Oh, okay. And then soon they will show the X-Men teaser, which sees Cyclops in his comic accurate suit. Oh, okay, cool. I need to go back and watch that X-Men show from the 90s. I need to finish watching that because I stopped watching at one point. I need to finish watching the 1994 Spider-Man series as well. I'm almost done with the second season. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have left to say about that's pretty much all I have to say on the about the new SpongeBob movies. The Sandy Cheeks movie, the Plankton movie, and the Search for SquarePants movie that was recently released. Oh, Cyclops is played by James Marsden. Oh, okay. Huh, interesting. Okay, cool. Hmm. I'm not sure what the 14th is going to be, though. I've been reading some rumors regarding Doomsday. Okay. And if they are true, man, that movie will make you look at the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe in a completely different way. Oh, shit. I'm afraid of that now. I hope that's a good thing. Especially with Tony Stark's character. Oh. And the main reason as to why Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doctor Doom. Oh. Huh. Interesting. Doctor Doom. Now that's I was not expecting from Robert Downey Jr. Speaking of Doctor Doom, I recently watched the Fantastic Four First Steps movie. I watched it today with my stepsister earlier, like a few hours, like several hours ago. It was good. Not the greatest movie I've ever seen, but it was good. I liked it. I did write it off at first when I heard it, but the more I think about it, the more likely it's going to happen. Well, shit. Oh, really? Yeah, I watched it. I thought it was good. I liked it because honestly, I don't think I had ever watched a Fantastic Four movie at that point in time. By that point in time, sorry. So, yeah, it was, yeah, like that was the first Fantastic Four movie that I'd ever watched. Yeah, it's a good movie. I felt like, I felt like the humor could have been a bit better, but I still thought it was good humor all around. I actually thought it was pretty. It was. I don't want to spoil it. Actually, let me not mention that because I'm gonna spoil it. But yeah, overall, I did enjoy the movie. I was like, eh. Like my stepsister saw it on Disney Plus and wanted to watch, and I was like, eh, might as well. These were the first heroes that I had ever gotten interested in. So why not watch one of their movies? I plan to watch a few of their other movies as well, but yeah. It's definitely the best of the F4 movies by far. Oh, you think so? Oh, well, actually, you did tell me that once, so I remember now. But but yeah, if you think it's the best one, then I guess I shouldn't be surprised that it's actually good. And of course, there was that sequel bait at the end. Well, not technically. Well, it was kind of sequel bait. Like it's, but I shouldn't mention it though because that would go into spoiler territory. But You know what I mean, where there was that little thing at the end, that little scene at the end, of following that was followed by that message at the end. So yeah, some people are nostalgic from the F4 movies for some people are nostalgic for the F4 movies from the 2000s, but I think that's in large part because they had a big crush on Jessica Alba when they were younger. And the 2015 one was just a disaster. I remember you telling me that as well. So now I think at least once. But yeah, like I am enjoying most of the Marvel movies I've been watching. Like because I recently watched all the Thor movies as well as all the Iron Man movies. And you guys already know I've watched the Guardians of the Galaxy movies and the Spider-Man movies and the Black Panther movies, and we could keep going, but you get the point. So I'm just trying to watch as many of these movies as I can. I feel like I'm going to focus on the Fantastic Four for now and then just go over to the X-Men. Like I'm slowly trying to watch movies of my once favorite superheroes. And I should get around to watching both the fan. I already said this earlier in the chat. I mean, in the stream. I need to get around to finishing those old cartoons for the Fantastic Four and the X-Men that I recently started but stopped watching at one point. I've seen all the Marvel movies. Oh, nice. I'm working my way over up to that point. Honestly, though, there are some movies that I just don't care to watch, but I'll watch them anyway because why not? Yeah, we're getting a Wolverine game this year. That's right. Like I have it on my wish list, but it's only been up for my PS5, but it's only been announced. Once there's a release date, I will definitely try to get it because Wolverine, like I said, how many times in the past, Wolverine used to be one of my favorite superheroes, one of my favorite Marvel superheroes. I remember even getting toys as a kid from like McDonald's, I think. Like I was always happy to get a Wolverine toy. I think it was from McDonald's, from some fast food place, likely McDonald's, but like yeah, like I was very much into the X-Men, mainly Wolverine and Storm. So, yeah. And then I just stopped caring one day. But I digress. Anyway, um I mean there's really nothing else for me to talk about, so who cares if I digress? I'm just glad to have done this Rantstream. This was fun because I had a lot to get off my chest because holy shit. How do you make a movie about Sandy Cheeks, one of the most iconic characters in the SpongeBob series, so bad? How do you make a movie about her so bad? Like the whoever made that movie, they just didn't care. In my opinion, they just did not care. It felt like they didn't care, or at least they didn't care enough. Like they tried to care a little, but just not enough. They just didn't care enough. So, and the other two movies were not. Well, the Plankton movie was considerably better, but it wasn't that great and wasn't very good. Um, wasn't terrible, but wasn't very good either. And then the Search for SquarePants movie was just. Ugh. Storm is such a goddess. I know, she is. She is. I enjoy playing her in Marvel Rivals, and I know you do, Maple. I know you do. I see you. I see you. I mean, you don't hide it, but I see you. It's like, but yeah, Storm is a great character. Yeah, this was a blast. It was. I've never been this excited to rip into a movie harder than a guy gets whenever he sees Sydney Sweetie. Oh my god, Maple. Oh my God. But I mean, you're not wrong. But like, yeah. Yeah, I know you were excited for this stream. I was too. Like, everyone was really. Like, well, not everyone in my community, but quite a number of people were. So, yeah, I'm glad we got that out of the way because, oof, I had a lot to say on this film. You had lots on these films. I had a lot to say on these films. You had a lot to say on these films, Maple. You too, Pen Gamer Patrick, Nate as well. Everyone, really. Speaking of which, I did watch The Housemaid the other day. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Oh, really? Okay. I think I've vaguely heard of that movie. I just haven't watched it. I don't even know what it's about. But I do remember hearing that name at one point, or seeing that name. It was really fun ripping apart the Sandy Cheeks movie. I agree. It was fun ripping apart that movie. It was just a very bad, very nothing, very soulless, very stupid movie. It was just absolutely terrible. 1 out of 10. And I'm being very nice with that rate. I could give it a 0 out of 10 or a 0.5, but I'll give it a 1 because I just want it to be nice. I just want to be nice. So like, yeah. Although I didn't know The Housemaid was an R-rated movie until the sex scene came in. There were boobs in it. Well, shit. Well, damn. Okay. Interesting. I did not know that, but I will keep that in mind if I decide to go and watch the movie later. But yeah, I feel clean now. I felt like I was gonna need an aspirin after this stream, but I actually feel clean now. I feel cleansed, right? Like all of the toxic bullshit has just left all my body with the power of ranting. Like I feel clean and serene. And yes, it was Sydney Sweeney. Oh, although it was only the two. Oh, wait, you retracted that. Okay, but yeah, I feel good now. I feel good. I feel like I took a massive shit. Like, that feeling after you let all of that toxicity, that poop out of your system and then you just feel great. I feel very much like that. Although it was only the second most crazy new film I've watched this winter. Oh, okay. Like this ranting was cleansing for my soul. The other one is Mario Supreme. Oh, okay. I don't think I've heard of that one. It was fucking awesome. Was it? Because I wouldn't know. I haven't watched it. I wouldn't know. I didn't mean to make it sound like I was questioning you. No, I really have not seen that film. I'm gonna stand for a bit. Hang on. Sure. You think it's gonna be a basic biopic about a table tennis player and then the rug gets pulled out from underneath you and then you get one batshit crazy thrill ride instead. I love movies that do that, that play with your expectations. You think things are gonna be a normal like just normal run of the mill. Nope. You're in for a ride. You're not getting off until it's done. I can't recall a movie in recent memory that had me glued to my seat and not knowing what the hell was going to happen next. I love movies like that. Like you don't know what's going to happen next and it just keeps you on edge. Compared to movies where they try to do or like they try to do something like that, but instead they just make movies where where the plot's basically like, and this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and it's just bad storytelling. Like with the Sandy Cheeks movie, like you even said that earlier in the chat, Maple, which I wish I had followed up on, but But yeah, like the Sandy Cheeks movie felt very much like that, where it felt like the writers were just throwing shit against the wall to see what would stick in the plot. They were like, it was just a very dumb movie in that, like, just random shit was happening. Like, twisters coming out of nowhere to suddenly carry our characters off to whatever destination they need to go to, or in the opposite direction. It is, yeah, I can't stand stories like that. But anyway, and Timothy Chalamet, Chalamet, I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry, is a movie star in the making. Nice. But yeah, I don't have anything else left to say. I've said everything I wanted to say. But this was a lot of fun. Just talking with you guys about, you know, um, just about these bad movies and about other things as well. Let's see. I had uh let's see, Marty Supreme as my number two favorite film of 2025. My number one was Sinners. Yeah, you absolutely loved Sinners. I haven't seen that. I should go and watch it, but I've had other movies on my mind, so I'm gonna wait on Sinners really. Let's see. By the way, I was one time watching this Life on Deck. It turns out that the guy Doc Shaw lost so much weight. He's mostly known for being in the show Tyler Perry House of Pain. That is true. That is true. Like I remember him from the House of Pain series, which I watched a fair bit, mainly because my mom would watch it. Like, but I don't watch it anymore. But my mom watched that show a lot when I was a kid. Um, but um, but yeah, like that's Doc Shaw's biggest role. But yeah, he was also in the Suit Life on Deck, and even in the Pair of Kings show. Um, Neither of which I care about all that much. I mean, the Suit Life on Deck I kind of cared about, but the other show, no. And in case you were wondering, I had K-pop Demon Hunters at number five um, of my favorite films of 2025. Oh, nice. Yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters is definitely one of my favorite movies from 2025. One of my top favorite movies. It might actually be my most favorite, but yeah, because it was just a very good film. It wasn't perfect in the storytelling. I do have a few problems with it, but they're very minor. Like overall, like it's just such it's just such a good film. It was such a fun film, and it really showed everyone how to write female characters. And it had some pretty catchy songs. You like I can't like there's the songs are everywhere nowadays. Soda Pop, Golden, like I hear Golden all the time on the radio now. I can't escape it. Surprisingly, I don't hear it at work, but I do hear it on the radio, and even I hear it from other people's cars. If I happen to like be near the cars and I hear music, then I hear that song. So, so yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters is everywhere. You can't escape it. Like, you just can't. Whoever animated really outdid themselves. Whoever created overall really outdid themselves. Hmm. But yeah, that's all I have left to say. I feel like K-pop. See, the thing is that the West the West was already getting into K-pop when K-pop Demon Hunters came out, but K-pop Demon Hunters, I think it accelerated the West's. I think it increased the West's interest in K-pop, and it accelerated um like K-pop's influence on the West. Like just like K-pop is definitely starting to it enhanced the spread of K-pop in my opinion in the West. It enhanced the spread of K-pop in the West. Like it was because before K-pop Demon Hunters, we already had BTS and Blackpink, two big K-pop groups. But then K-pop Demon Hunters came around and made everyone even more interested in K-pop. So now we have groups like Twice and aespa and Stray Kids making their way through the West. And then I'm just listing only a few K-pop groups because there are others. But the five that I mentioned, BTS, Blackpink, Twice, aespa, Stray Kids, those are most of the biggest ones right now. That's most of the biggest ones. They are some of the biggest, definitely. But yeah, and I was already into K-pop when I watched Demon Hunters, so I was like, yeah, this movie is the shit. Like my cousin Stephanie even recommended I watch that movie. Like, you like K-pop, right? You gotta watch K-pop Demon Hunters. And I was like, okay. And I watched and I was like, oh yes, yes, I love this. If only more movies knew how to write female characters the way the writers for this story wrote the female characters. But that's enough about K-pop Demon Hunters. There's a lot I could say about that film, but I'm not gonna do that. I could have a Rantstream with it along with at least one other film, but I'm not gonna do that. I'll just say that I really like the film. Like I feel the same way towards Wicked. It's like I like both Wicked movies, but I don't feel like creating a Rantstream for them because I'm just gonna have mostly positive things to say anyway. So yeah, of course it's okay for a Rantstream to just have mostly positive things in it, but like I don't know, I just don't feel the need to do K-pop Demon Hunters or Wicked for Good. I don't feel the need to talk about those in the rant string, so I just won't. Merry 2026, everybody. Yes, Merry 2026, everyone. Happy New Year. Here, let me add that to the presentation here. Happy New Year, everyone. Yes, Happy New Year. Starting off the new year with a rant stream like this. Yes, perfect way to start the new year. I don't have any New Year's resolutions. I stopped caring about that shit long ago, so I'm just gonna hope that 2026 is a good year because 2025 was surprisingly a good year for everyone in terms of entertainment anyway, like movies, games, stuff like that. So let's hope that 2026 follows suit. Yes, happy new year to everyone in the chat, to everyone who's watching but not commenting, to everyone out there in the world, except people I don't like or care about. Happy New Year. I do plan on doing a list of my top 20 most anticipated movies for 2026. Oh, nice. 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 I'm still not centered enough. Ugh. It's bothering me. God. Well, whatever. Whatever. I'll be fine. I mean, I'm still kind of centered. That's right. I got at least 20 um movies that I'm looking forward to. Nice. Hmm. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. I finished watching Superman the Complete series on Blu-ray, all the episodes, as well as a few of the behind the scenes clips. I didn't like how the series ended, if I'm going to be honest. And I felt like they could have done more. Like, I felt like there were a few more things they could have fleshed out and a few more characters they could have used more. But overall, I'm actually happy with the animated series for Superman. Though, from what I've heard, it's not as good as the Batman animated series, the classic one, from the 90s, 1992. But I haven't watched that one. I've only watched a few episodes, but I haven't watched the whole thing. So we'll see if I feel the same way. If the Superman animated series is inferior to the Batman animated series. I've heard that it is, but I'm gonna wait until I actually watch both series in their entirety. But yeah, the Superman animated series is nice. I do like it. I do recommend people watch it because I had never seen it before, like at all, surprisingly. So, as well as the Batman animated series, so like, might as well get those and check them out. Yeah, Batman the animated series was better, despite being made first and having rougher animation. But I mean, that's to be expected. Plus, the animation was still good, at least for the time. Certainly better animation than the original Fantastic Four show in the 90s, because the animation there looks rough. It looked rough, but again, it was an early show, so I'm willing to, like, cut some slack. But yeah, I actually got quite a few ideas for my stories, my superhero stories from watching Superman the Animated Series. So, yeah, I'm glad I watched that series. It was actually a pretty good series overall. I actually did like it. I just wish it had been given more episodes, but I actually did like it. So now moving on to the Batman animated series, all of them, because there's more than one. I mean, there's more than one Superman one too, but um, might even watch Smallville at one point because I've always heard of that of that series, but I've never bothered to watch it. But we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna focus on the Batman animated series now, and then branch out from there. Oh yeah, and another in other news, I've been playing Titans of the Tide. I just finished the new SpongeBob game. I mean, I just finished the first world, and I did most of the side quests except one. Um, I will go back and do that one later. I couldn't. I had problems finding what I needed for that side quest, but I'll go back and do it later. But it's really just one side quest I have left to do on that island. I think I've done pretty much all. I try to do all the side quests. I've been trying to do all the side quests that I see, even going back to the level after I've technically already gone around it once, trying to find anything I missed. So when I do stream this games, hopefully within the next few weeks or so, I still need time to, 100% tie into the tide. Um, I will try to go for 100%. I will definitely go for 100%. Because if I did for the Cosmic Shake and for pretty much every other SpongeBob game, Battle for Bikini Bottom, the movie game, Light Summer Pants, the Cosmic Shake, Truth or Square, Rehydrated, I might as well do it for Times of the Tide. So I will be getting 100% for that, but I have to go and play the game first. I might have to use guide at one point, so we'll see. Make sure to watch Batman Mask of the Phantasm movie. I will. I need to watch Batman movies as well. There are a few collections on Amazon that I'm interested in, but what I hate is that one of them is digital, but it's only 10 movies, and the other one is physical, but it's like there aren't any digital codes. I don't like that. But I'll figure something out. Um, I'm trying to look for like what the best way to get all the movies both physically and digitally would be. Like if they're only physical releases, I'm fine with that. I mean, I have Superman the complete animated series here. Um, that doesn't have a digital code, and I'm fine with that. But like with the Batman movies, I need to find the best way to get them. But I have to work for seven. I have to work a 7 a.m. shift, so I'm going to head out. Nice Rantstream stream. Good night, everyone. Okay, good night, kind gamer Patrick. Thank you for coming. It was nice having you here, and ripping into these movies with us. So thank you for coming, and see you next time. To be honest, some of these new SpongeBob movies give me more appreciation for the new SpongeBob games. They aren't perfect, but you can at least tell they are made by people that like and care about SpongeBob. True, true. I will give the new SpongeBob games that. Like the Cosmic Shake and Titans of the Tide both feel like from when I played, they both feel like games that were made by people who care about the SpongeBob IP, who cared about it. So yeah, so if you're wondering how I feel about Titans of the Tide, you already know how I feel about the Cosmic Shake. I think it's a decent game. I just think it could have been a lot better, but I think it's a decent game. I don't like it, but I think it's a decent game. As for Titans of the Tide, um, I'm gonna try to reserve judgment as much as possible, but so far I'm having a decent time with the game. I think it's decent so far. But then again, I've only played through one world, so who knows? I mean, I don't think it's a special or great or amazing game or whatever, but I don't think it's terrible either. I think it's decent. Um, but I will not have a fully formed opinion until after I finish the game and get 100%. Oh, I know you. I know which games you were talking about. But but yeah, we'll see how I feel when I finish playing Titans of the Tide. Because that is the stream I'm gonna focus on, and that's the stream I'm gonna play. That's the game I'm gonna focus on, and the game I'm gonna stream next. So yeah, I still think I prefer Cosmic Shake. Hey, that's fair. That's totally fair. That's totally fair. I can't comment on how this game compares to Cosmic Shake because I haven't fully played it, but Time to the Tide, I mean. But yeah, that's a fair opinion for you to have. So it is what it is. But yeah, I will definitely be finishing that game up soon. Well, I won't say soon because I'm gonna be focusing on it like throughout the next few weeks, and then I'll stream it when I can. But it will be in the near future. Then I will have played pretty much every 3D SpongeBob platformer. I forgot about Plankton's Robotic Revenge, but the thing is that it's such a nothing game that I completely forgot about its existence. But that I think I technically 100%, or maybe I just played through it. I don't remember, honestly. I really don't remember. But as well as SpongeBob Hero Pants, I don't even think I got 100% on that one. Did I? Or did I just play through it and try to get as much as I can? As much as I could? I don't even remember. See, like those two are such nothing games. I don't even remember if I ever 100% them. I don't think I did, but whatever. And before I leave, I can show off what I plan for my top 20 anticipated movies of 2026 will be. Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. But I think after that, I'll end the stream because I really have nothing else to say. And I want to get going now. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and do it, that's fine. I'm not in a rush to leave, but I would like to end the stream very soon. Man, we're in 2026. Wow. Huh. I had nonstop fireworks yesterday in my neighborhood. But yeah, like everyone was just celebrating like hell. Makes sense. It is New Year's. I'm glad I actually had it off this year because, well, last year technically. Well, no, this year actually. Well, both because like I had both New Year's Eve and New Year's Day off. Normally, like normally I don't have either of those days off. I mean, I could always request them, but I just don't care too most of the time. Because, especially when I already get to leave like early. Well, the store closes early on New Year's Eve, like 2 hours before midnight, just so we have time to get home and prepare for the countdown. Um, but but like normally they I don't get those New Year's Eve or New Year's Day off. I could ask for them, sure, but I just don't care too most of the time. But occasionally I do get them off, even without asking. Now this year I actually did ask because maybe it was mainly because I had vacation days that I just needed to use up before the year was over. So otherwise I wouldn't have cared to use them this late. But it was nice to have New Year's Eve and New Year's Day off. So yeah, and both like at the same like both together. So that was nice. Yeah, after that you can end it. Okay, cool. Okay, I guess I'll go ahead and start reading these. Number 20. 28 years later, the Bone Temple. Okay, number 19. Ready or not, 2, here I come. Ready or not, 2, here I come. Okay. Toy Story 5 for number 18. Forgotten Island for number 17. Coyote versus Acme for number 16. Digger for number 15. Masters of the Universe for number 14. Um, I've only heard of Toy Story 5 out of all of these, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Number 13, Send Help. Send help for Disney and Marvel because they need it. Might as well add Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. Narnia, The Magician's Nephew. Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard of that one, but I don't care about Narnia. I've really never cared about Narnia. I remember watching one of the movies as a kid, but that was only for a school assignment. Like the whole class watched it, and I still remember. I still remember like the story, the basic storyline. You know, these four kids go into this fantasy land, and then they meet this talking lion or whatever. I don't remember. His name was Aslan or whatever. Forgot what the kids' names were. What was it? I'm trying to remember. What the youngest was named Lucy, I believe. Lucy, Edmund, I think Peter, and then was the other one Sarah? I don't remember. I'm surprised I even remember most of their names because I do not care much for Narnia. But anyway, I could just look it up. Hang on. Well, let's see. Michael is number 11. The Super Mario Galaxy movie is number 10. Okay, cool. Now that one I've heard of. Supergirl, I've heard that one too. Oh, that's number 7. Sorry, I jumped ahead. Number 9 is Avengers Doomsday. I've heard of that one. Number 8 is Disclosure Day. Number 6 is Doom Part 3. Number 5 is Werewolf. Number 4 is Spider-Man Brand New Day. Heard of that one. Number 3 is Project Hail Mary. Heard of that one. Number 2 is Godzilla minus 1. And then The Odyssey for number 1. Cool. Damn, there were 7 books for the Narnia series? Wow, the Chronicles of Narnia. Okay. I knew there was a book series. I knew there was a book. I didn't know that there was a series though. Um, wow, shit, damn. Okay. Forgotten Island is a new original DreamWorks movie, by the way. Oh, I did not know that. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Work. But yeah, the only Narnia film that I've ever seen is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Oh, her name was the other girl's name was Susan. I was close. Yeah. So Peter, Edmund, Susan, and Lucy. I see. Yes. I got three of the names right. The other one I just got wrong. I thought it was like Sarah, but no, it was Susie. I mean, I got one letter right. I knew it started with an S. I just couldn't remember what the name was. But anyway, Forgotten Island is being co-directed by the guy who did Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Okay, so we know it's going to be good. Hopefully. And Michael is referring to the Michael Jackson biopic. Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, Michael Jackson is getting the movie. Okay. Right. I completely forgot about that. So a few of these movies you pointed out, you listed in the chat I've heard of, but most of them I have not heard of. But then again, I don't pay attention to movies in general, so like I don't pay much attention to movie releases, if I'm gonna be honest, unless they're IPs I'm very much interested in. And there aren't that many that I'm interested in. And I got Toy Story 5 on there because I do find the whole idea of toys being irrelevant and being replaced by electronics to be so relevant to today's times. That's true. I mean, that's not a bad idea. Not gonna lie. I just hope that the writers don't screw it up. I mean, I know it's Pixar, so there's a chance that they won't fuck. There's a great chance that they won't fuck it up. But I mean, with the way Lightyear was, like you just can't help but feel scared because Pixar has usually made good movies. They have consistently made good movies, but then you have very mid movies like The Good Dinosaur and Lightyear, and it's just like, let's hope this new Toy Story 5 film doesn't end up like one of those films. I'm praying that it won't end up like that. Fingers crossed. And I do want it to be at least uh as good as Toy Story 4, if not better, because Toy Story 4 was decent, but it was the weakest out of all the films, and it did not need to exist. So yeah. I just wish that was Toy Story 4 and not 5. Yeah, like they should have just kept it at Toy Story 4. Because like what was the point of they should have made Toy Story 5 Toy Story 4 because what was the point of having Toy Story 4? Because that was supposed to close out Woody's character arc or whatever and just make him not a part of the group anymore. But um like now they're going back on that with Toy Story 5, so it's like what was the point? Unless they're going to try to argue, oh, it's a different timeline. That was a different timeline, which is a really bullshit excuse. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's necessarily wrong. I'm just saying that it's just a really bullshit cop out excuse. It would be a very bullshit and cop out excuse because that's just a very fancy way. Sorry, not a very roundabout way of saying we fucked up, we regret it, we want to change things. I've been up to date with films and pop culture since about 2000. Not me. But that's just really how I am. I just don't really care that much about that stuff. Like, not to the point where I live under a rock, if that makes sense, but to the point where I don't go out of my way to actively stay up to date about this stuff. Especially when it's hard to, especially when it's kind of hard not to be, not, it's kind of hard to be fully not in the loop nowadays because if you're browsing on the internet or you're like or like watching something on YouTube or any other streaming or any streaming platform, chances are you're going to hear about these movies and new releases. So, like, it's hard to avoid that entirely nowadays. And it was around 2007, 2008 where I started to go to movie theaters often during the summer. And 2004 was the year I saw my first movie. I saw the first movie I remember in theaters with the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. You saw that in theaters. I saw that on DVD. But that was like years, a few years after it had come out. Because I had already known about it for quite a while. I just didn't think because I just didn't get the opportunity to watch it until I hadn't gotten the opportunity to watch it until like a bit later down the line. But yeah, like I'm happy to watch that movie and I'm happy to have it on DVD and on my shelf right here. Let's see, where is it on my shelf? Hang on. Right there. Yeah, I see it right there on my shelf. Towards the bottom. That makes me wonder if I'm gonna get the Search for SquarePants movie on physical. Probably not, because there's a chance it's just gonna be on the streaming services anyway. Not that that necessarily will stop me from buying a movie the physical version of a movie, but usually if it's on streaming services, I won't care to get it until unless it's a movie I really, really like Zootopia, for example, because that's on Disney Plus, obviously, but I like the movie so much that I got it for myself. Because there are just some movies that you just want to have for yourself, right? So yeah. But yeah, that's all I have. That's all I've got for tonight. What an absolute blast of Rantstream this was. Yes, yes, it was awesome. It was awesome. I really did like doing this Rantstream. It was so cathartic, so fun. Like, like it was great. I'm happy I did it with you guys. I'm happy I did it with you, Maple. I'm happy I did it with Gamer Patrick, Nate, and and to a small degree Blue Wolf because he showed up for a bit but then just left. Which is fine. Like if he's not here the whole time, that's okay. But but yeah, everybody else, I had fun with pretty much everyone this stream, except for a few that didn't talk much and just because they just didn't talk much, so like I didn't get to interact with them very much. But anyway, I have the first SpongeBob movie and SpongeBob Water on Blu-ray and 4K, but that's it. Yeah, same here. Oh, I have Sponge on the Run as well, though. So, like, I have all three of those movies, the first three SpongeBob movies on Blu-ray, and I have them digitally as well. But anyway, I needed to get my frustration out of the Sandy Cheeks movie. Same. I just wish I had a working mic and would be able to join a Zoom call or something so I could rant it with you in person. Oh, well, that's okay. Because I would like to have, like, that actually would be a pretty cool thing to do. But it's okay. It would be nice to have you on, but that's okay. Just having you in the chat is good enough for me. Yes, Bunch on the Run. Why? Because I'm a collectionist. Is that the word? Right? Collectionist? Whatever. Is that even a word? I don't know. But yeah, I I was like, it was the third movie. It was the third movie, and I figured since I have the other two, I might as well get that one. But yeah, I have it only for collection purposes. I have no interest in rewatching that movie. I'm like, here, let me just put it in my collection, then call it a day. Maybe I'll do it for a future rant stream. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Um, but yeah, I don't have any more. Like for Iron Man or Dark Knight Trilogy or something. Oh yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, that's true. I know you would have a lot to say on those movies. A lot to say about those movies. I need to, I already talked about this. I do plan to watch the Batman movies at one point, but I think I'm gonna focus on the animated series. Maybe not all the animated series all at once, but just the complete animated series, the 1992 one, and then work my way from there. Because I've had a lot of Marvel content recently, like mainly Spider-Man, but also stuff like the Fantastic Four, Thor, Iron Man, and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm getting kind of tired of Marvel at this point. I need to, so I've been watching DC stuff to compensate. It's like, let me go back and watch some DC stuff, and mainly Superman and Batman. Because those are the only two heroes that I have any sort of interest in right now. I'll branch out to the others later, but it's really Batman and Superman that I have the most interest in. But yeah, just getting my fill of DC and Marvel. But yeah, it's time to wrap up. You're right. But just so you guys know, I don't have any plans to do any brand streams in the near future. But I was glad to get all these done like right now, like the SpongeBob movies and a few other things. Oh yeah, the FNAF 2 movie and the Zootopia movies and stuff like that. But yeah, I think I'm gonna take a break from rant streams uh after today. But yeah, let's go ahead and end the stream. Thank you all so much for watching this rant stream, especially you, Maple, and Kind Gamer Patrick as well. You guys contributed the most, and Nate as well. But everyone else who was here and who joined to say hi and who even talked about the movies with me, thank you for being here. But yeah, I'm 215. I'll see you guys next time. Again, thank you for watching. Happy New Year, and I'll see you guys next time. So until then, deuces and goodbye.